Chapter 254. Lu Yuan's legs turned to jelly as he was suppressed by the black-robed man's domineering aura. That mountain-like aura was simply too frightening. This aura far exceeded that of the chrysanthemum Douluo and the ghost Douluo. It was even comparable to the golden crocodile's aura. What a vast heaven Douluo! The mountain-like aura pressed down on Lu Yuan's body, and made Lu Yuan feel as if he was suffocating. Even the bones in his body seemed to creak and groan. A titled Douluo's aura was enough to suppress an ordinary soul sage. Furthermore, Tang Hao was no ordinary titled Douluo. The pressure that his aura gave Lu Yuan was simply too great. After all, Lu Yuan was only rank 46. His current abilities were similar to Zhao Wuji's. Zhao Wuji couldn't withstand Tang Hao's pressure, and he naturally couldn't either. However, even though he couldn't resist Tang Hao's aura, there was no need for him to resist it. Lu Yuan's body suddenly emitted a dazzling blue light that spread out like water ripples. Tang Hao's imposing aura, which was as heavy as a mountain, could not resist at all in the face of this spreading blue wave and was completely expelled. The blue light didn't spread out more than 2 meters, but it still surrounded Lu Yuan. Tang Hao's violent aura was outside, but there was no pressure inside. Lu Yuan could even place his hands behind his back calmly. The vast heaven Douluo is indeed extraordinary. However, your aura is useless against me. Lu Yuan's expression was calm as he looked at Tang Hao. The vast sea cosmic shroud had many miraculous uses. With it protecting him, Tang Hao's aura couldn't do anything to him. Hey! Tang Hao couldn't help but exclaim when he saw the blue light on Lu Yuan's body expelling his aura. This kid in front of him wasn't simple. What was that blue light? Was it a domain? Tang Hao was a little perplexed as he looked at the blue waves of light that surrounded Lu Yuan. Even a domain shouldn't be able to resist his aura. After all, he was the vast sky Douluo. This kid was a little strange. Tang Hao thought to himself, but he was not going to stop. Tang Hao could not help but narrow his eyes when he saw that the kid obviously knew his identity. The great vast sky Douluo is bullying a junior like me in the middle of the night. Isn't that a little unreasonable? Lu Yuan said indifferently as he looked at Tang Hao. After hitting the young one, the old one will naturally avenge the young one. Isn't this the law of nature? Tang Hao said. Oh, it seems that Tang San from the day is your son. Interesting. So you intend to bully the young? Lu Yuan smiled lightly, but a trace of coldness flashed through his eyes. Bully the young? Tang Hao shook his head gently and said, Kid, let me teach you something. In this world, the weak are prey to the strong. The so-called rules are worthless. The fist is the law of the land. You severely injured my son in the day, so I'll do the same to you. Don't worry, I won't take your life, Tang Hao said. Haha, thank you very much. Lu Yuan laughed coldly. His eyes were filled with coldness. He and Tang Hao were of the same generation. Perhaps he was a little too heavy-handed, but he didn't expect Tang Hao to lower himself and deal with him personally. This was good too. Don't blame him for not holding back. Elder Long, did you hear what Tang Hao said? Lu Yuan looked at Tang Hao calmly and said softly, Master, I heard. Long Xiaoyao's figure instantly appeared in front of Lu Yuan. He looked at Tang Hao with a sharp gaze. He didn't leak any aura from his body, but he gave Tang Hao an indescribable sense of pressure. You are. Tang Hao was shocked when he saw Long Xiaoyao appear in front of him. He didn't sense his aura at all, and couldn't see through his abilities. He was the vast sky Douluo, Tang Hao. There was actually someone in this world that he couldn't see through. Tang Hao felt a chill in his heart. He had a bad feeling. I am Long Xiaoyao. My title is the Dragon Emperor. Dragon Emperor Douluo? Tang Hao was stunned. He had never heard of this title before. Could he be an expert from a hidden sect? Long Xiaoyao had only appeared in the Heaven Do Imperial Academy so far. There were indeed people who recognized him, and his name naturally made its way into the ears of the various great powers. However, Tang Hao had been either in the Holy Soul Village or Noding City all these years. He naturally didn't know anything about Long Xiaoyao. Master, how should we deal with this person? Long Xiaoyao looked at Tang Hao. He was rank 95, and his aura wasn't bad. However, it was only not bad. It seemed like he was still injured. Long Xiaoyao didn't care about him at all. He said that he wouldn't kill me if he severely injured me, so I'll spare his life. I'll just beat him half to death. Lu Yuan waved his hand and said casually, "Yes, master." Long Xiaoyao's body flashed with black light as he looked at Tang Hao. Dragon roars rang out, and the dark sky became even darker. A huge black dragon with 2 wings appeared behind Long Xiaoyao. 9 soul rings, yellow, yellow, purple, black, black, red, and red rippled beneath Long Xiaoyao's body. This was the first time Long Xiaoyao had released his martial soul apart from his battle with Di Tian. It seemed like Long Xiaoyao was determined to beat up Tang Hao, who dared to bully his master. The harder one's fist is the most important thing. Let's see who's harder. 200,000-year soul rings, and this aura, is an ultimate Douluo? Tang Hao revealed a look of shock on his sallow face. No wonder he couldn't sense this elder's abilities. He was an ultimate Douluo like his grandfather. Tang Hao revealed a determined look on his face. He knew that he had to give it his all. Otherwise, he would lose terribly. However, he didn't know that the outcome wouldn't change even if he unleashed his full strength. Clear sky body. Tang Hao's 7th soul ring lit up, and his clear sky hammer swelled into the size of a small hill. He smashed it towards Long Xiaoyao. Barely passable. Long Xiaoyao didn't use any soul skills. He only used his dragon claw to grab it. Bang! The dragon claw and the clear sky hammer clashed, and an earth-shattering sound was heard. Waves of energy rippled outwards like shockwaves, destroying all the trees around them. Lu Yuan's vast sea cosmic barrier shone brightly and blocked the energy ripples. He was very far away from the battlefield, but he couldn't block the energy ripples by himself. He had to rely on his vast sea cosmic barrier to block them. His abilities were comparable to a soul sage. Indeed, a titled Douluo was a titled Douluo. No wonder they were the most powerful people in the Douluo continent. Not a bad attack, but it's a pity that it's still too weak. Long Xiaoyao's voice sounded. A huge black dragon claw slammed down on Tang Hao's body and slammed him into the ground. Chapter 255. The black dragon claw slammed Tang Hao into the ground like it was slapping an ant. As for why Long Xiaoyao could turn into a dragon claw without using any soul skills, it was very simple. It was because of dragon form. Even the blue lightning tyrant dragon had dragon form, what more the darkness holy dragon? As long as one had a pure-blooded dragon martial soul, there was no one who couldn't dragon form. Dragon form sounded very high-end, but it was only a basic skill for pure-blooded dragons like the golden dragon and the darkness holy dragon. Of course, even though it was basic, it was still very powerful. Long Xiaoyao could use his dragon claw to slap Tang Hao's Haotian true body away. On one hand, it was because of his higher rank than Tang Hao. On the other hand, it was because of dragon form. Of course, it was also because of Long Xiaoyao's 2 soul cores. What was the biggest difference between a fighting 2 soul master and a fighting 1 soul master? It was the existence of soul cores. Soul cores could not only compress soul power and increase the quality of soul power, but they could also store soul power. A soul master with a soul core was much stronger than a soul master without a soul core of the same rank. It could be said that the 3 ultimate Douluo, 1000 Daoliu, Tang Chen, and Poseidon were no match for Long Xiaoyao if they didn't use their divine power and fought one-on-one, with the exception of Tang Chen, who could explode his bracelet. Of course, Long Xiaoyao might be a little inferior if he used his divine power. This was especially so for Pasisi. She could even borrow the strength of the entire ocean in the Sea God's Hall. She might even be able to fight Di Tian, who used his dragon god's claw. She had even reached the demigod realm. In fact, Lu Yuan had always been very interested in the method of condensing a soul core. It was just that he wasn't powerful enough yet, and his spiritual power was also lacking. Condensing a soul core required a lot of spiritual power. According to his plan, He would only try to condense a soul core after his spiritual power reached the soul Douluo level. He wasn't in a hurry now. He already knew how to condense a soul core, and had been studying it all this time. As for how he learned it, it was naturally taught by Long Xiaoyao. Tang Hao crawled up from the ground. He was covered in mud, and blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. He was already injured, and Long Xiaoyao's slap had aggravated his old injuries. As he looked up at Long Xiaoyao, he knew that he was going to lose this time. However, even though he knew that he couldn't defeat Long Xiaoyao, he wasn't going to give up so easily. After all, he was Tang Hao, the vast sky Douluo Tang Hao. With the clear sky hammer in hand, Tang Hao charged towards Long Xiaoyao once again. This imposing manner was worthy of affirmation, but as for the result, bang! Another hole appeared on the ground. Long Xiaoyao gently swung his black dragon claws. His expression was calm and composed. Ha! Tang Hao exhaled gently. He felt the injuries on his body, and a fierce look flashed across his eyes. His first yellow soul ring suddenly exploded and turned into a yellow energy that was injected into the clear sky hammer. He charged towards Long Xiaoyao with a domineering aura. Explosive soul rings? That's interesting. Long Xiaoyao said softly. His fourth black soul ring suddenly lit up. Fourth soul skill, Black Dragon Holy Claw. Bang! Another shockwave surged, and a huge boom was heard. Lu Yuan's expression was calm. As he looked at Tang Hao, he didn't feel anything. While his explosive soul rings were strong, the gap between him and Long Xiaoyao was too big. Even if it was called a divine skill, so what? When the gap in abilities reached a certain level, no matter how many tricks one had, they couldn't break through everything with brute force. After being sent flying by Long Xiaoyao's claw once again, Tang Hao spat out blood. His second, third, and fourth soul rings actually exploded at the same time. The clear sky hammer carried an explosive aura as it charged towards Long Xiaoyao. This move is interesting. 3 soul rings exploded at the same time. This strength was relatively violent. However, it wasn't much of a threat to Long Xiaoyao. Furthermore, explosive soul rings were very harmful to one's body. This was especially so since Tang Hao was severely injured. If they continued to explode, he would definitely die. Their battle was too intense. Although they were a little far from Shrek, Flender and the others could definitely sense it. Flender opened his wings and rushed over with Zhao Wuji in his hand. The two of them naturally didn't dare to enter the battle between Long Xiaoyao and Tang Hao. With their abilities, the shockwaves from their battle could kill them. Without the abilities of a titled Soul Master or above, it was impossible to get close to them. Flender's eyes were sharp. He immediately saw Lu Yuan and flew towards Lu Yuan. "What's going on?" Flender asked Lu Yuan. As he spoke, he glanced at the battle in the distance. His face was trembling a little. "What kind of gods are they? Their abilities are really impressive. It's very simple. I beat up a guy in the day. At night, his father came to seek revenge. He fought with the people who were protecting me." Lu Yuan said softly. "You're saying that person is Tang San's father?" Zhao Wuji was shocked. Tang San actually had a titled Douluo for a father. That's the vast heaven Douluo? As he looked at the familiar vast heaven hammer and red soul rings, Flender suddenly thought of something. He couldn't help but glance at Lu Yuan. "What, the vast heaven Douluo?" Zhao Wuji was shocked. This was the vast heaven Douluo who dared to beat up the Pope. He didn't expect Tang San to be his son. Furthermore, from what Lu Yuan said, this vast heaven Douluo didn't even care about the dignity of a titled Douluo. He personally dealt with a junior. Wasn't that a little shameless? But from the looks of it, he seemed to have been beaten up. If the vast heaven Douluo was beaten up, how strong was that black-robed elder? Yes, it's him. Tang Hao, the so-called vast heaven Douluo. Lu Yuan said calmly. Then who is that black-robed elder? Flender's heart twitched as he looked at Long Xiaoyao's 200,000-year soul rings. Who was this elder? He actually beat the vast heaven Douluo to the ground. Dragon Emperor Douluo, Long Xiaoyao. Dean, don't tell me you've never heard of him before, Lu Yuan said. I have some impression of him. Flender stroked his sharp chin. He seemed to be familiar with the title of the Dragon Emperor Douluo. While Flender was thinking, the battle on the field had already reached its climax. Vast Heaven Hammer, Chaotic Cloak, Tang Hao's 5, 6, and 7 soul rings exploded at the same time. He unleashed his Chaotic Cloak Wind Hammer technique. The strength of this attack was probably at rank 98. In addition to the Chaotic Cloak, its strength couldn't be underestimated. The enormous hammer carried a black tail of flames as it swept towards Long Xiaoyao. Martial Soul True Body, Long Xiaoyao transformed into a huge black dragon. He roared into the sky, and his huge black dragon tail swung towards the vast heaven hammer. Bang! This huge sound was earth-shattering. The shockwaves from the explosion blew Flender and Zhao Wuji away. Even Lu Yuan took more than 10 steps back under the protection of his vast sea cosmic barrier before he could stabilize himself. Chapter 256. Long Xiaoyao unleashed his true abilities after unleashing his martial soul true body. How strong was an ultimate Douluo? It was something that an ordinary titled Douluo couldn't imagine. Tang Hao's attack was comparable to the Golden Crocodile's attack after his 5, 6, and 7 soul rings exploded at the same time. It was definitely at rank 98. To be able to surpass a transcendent Douluo by 3 ranks, one had to admit that Tang Hao's exploding soul rings was indeed impressive. There was a huge gap between the ultimate Douluo and those below it. Once an ultimate Douluo got serious, those below the ultimate Douluo would quickly be defeated. Unless a rank 98 peak Douluo could comprehend the power of the spirit realm, they wouldn't be able to fight an ultimate Douluo. However, there wasn't anyone in the Douluo continent who could comprehend the power of the spirit realm. There were very few people who could comprehend the concept of the spirit realm. The black dragon's tail collided with the clear sky hammer's body and caused an explosion in the air. Following this, the black dragon's tail tore through the clear sky hammer's attack. The clear sky hammer in Tang Hao's hand was sent flying, and the black dragon's tail slammed into Tang Hao's body. Tang Hao immediately spat out a mouthful of blood. Many of his bones were broken, and he was embedded in the ground. He couldn't stop vomiting blood. His originally waxy yellow face had become as golden as paper. This time, he was really beaten half to death. Long Xiaoyao slowly descended. He looked at Tang Hao, who was lying on the ground like a dead dog. His expression didn't change at all. He walked towards Lu Yuan. Lu Yuan slowly retracted his vast sea cosmic shroud. Although this shroud could ignore the suppression of auras, it still depended on Lu Yuan's own abilities when it came to true energy impacts. The shockwave from earlier was simply far too powerful. Even though Lu Yuan had the vast sea cosmic shroud to protect him, he was still forced back more than 10 steps. One had to realize that his strength was comparable to that of a soul Douluo, and he had the vast sea cosmic shroud to protect himself. Furthermore, he was a relatively high-tier soul Douluo. However, he was still pushed back by the shockwave. One could imagine how powerful the shockwave was and how intense the battle between the two was. Master. Long Xiaoyao walked in front of Lu Yuan and ignored Flender and Zhao Wuji. Elder Long, what happened to Tang Hao? Is he dead? Lu Yuan asked. Of course not. Long Xiaoyao shook his head and said, however, he's severely injured. He'll have to lie in bed for at least half a month before he can get out of bed. It's impossible for him to fully recover, and he can't use his full strength in the future. Otherwise, he'll die without a doubt if his old injuries are triggered. Oh. Lu Yuan nodded gently. In that case, Tang Hao was really crippled. He was already severely injured, and he even dared to blow up his soul rings when he fought me. His body is already severely injured. I even broke a few of his ribs. In the future, he can only unleash the strength of a titled Douluo if he suppresses his injuries. Once he exceeds that, his passageways will be severed. Even a god won't be able to save him. Long Xiaoyao said plainly, this is still because his soul power is domineering, and he can suppress his injuries. However, It seems like he can't suppress them for much longer. His injuries are going to backfire. Furthermore, there's basically no healing-type soul master who can heal him. Unless Elder Bai Ji helps him? Lu Yuan asked. Yes, but Bai Ji won't help him. Di Tian won't allow it. Long Xiaoyaro said. Yes. Lu Yuan nodded. Although Di Tian was very polite to him, that was because of Jiu Yuana's orders and his own bloodline. Di Tian himself hated humans. Although Bicky was kind-hearted, she still had to listen to Di Tian. It was basically impossible for him to save Tang Hao. Unless Lu Yuan helped him, there might be a chance. However, Tang Hao was the Martial Soul Palace's eternal enemy. Lu Yuan was already being merciful by not killing him. Why would he save him? Flender and Zhao Wuji were confused when they heard Lu Yuan and Long Xiaoyao's words. What Di Tian? What Bai Ji? They had never heard of them before. However, they were clear about one thing. The vast sky Douluo was almost crippled. At least, he was half crippled. In the future, he could only fight with ordinary titled Douluo. Once he used strength that exceeded that level, his body would collapse. A look of sympathy flashed across Zhao Wuji's eyes as he looked at Tang Hao in the small hole in the distance. During the day, your son was beaten up until he vomited blood. A few of his ribs were broken, and he had to be bedridden for a week. At night, you were beaten up again. You have to be bedridden for at least half a month. The two of you are really unlucky. However, it's your own fault for finding trouble. It's fine if your son is beaten up. He'll be fine after being bedridden for a week. As a titled Douluo, Tang Hao actually lowered his face to find trouble with a soul ancestor. Now, he's beaten up so badly that even his mother can't recognize him. Not only will he have to be bedridden for more than half a month, his strength will also decrease. In the future, he'll have to bear injuries that won't heal. He's really asking for trouble. Zhao Wuji had a look of sympathy on his face. However, he didn't know that if it weren't for Lu Yuan, he would have been beaten up by Tang Hao tonight. It was Lu Yuan's appearance that prevented him from being beaten up. Let's go, Elder Long. Lu Yuan didn't look at Tang Hao's miserable state. He turned and left. Looking at the two of them leaving, Zhao Wuji asked Flender, Boss, what about the vast sky Douluo? Find a villager and settle him down. We can't let a titled Douluo lie here. Flender rubbed his chin gently. What about after that? After what? Flender asked doubtfully. Don't we need to treat his injuries? Zhao Wuji asked. Treat his injuries? Flender looked at Zhao Wuji like he was looking at an idiot. Do you have money? No. Zhao Wuji shook his head. Then why are you talking about treating his injuries? Treating injuries doesn't cost money. Furthermore, Flender changed the topic and said, didn't you hear what the Dragon Emperor said? The vast sky Douluo's injuries can't be treated. Why waste money? Anyway, a titled Douluo's body is strong. He won't die. Just leave him there. Flender said indifferently. Anyway, he wasn't the one who injured Tang Hao. He didn't have the ability to do so. Settling him down was already extremely benevolent. Who asked him to bully the weak? He deserved it. No matter what, Lu Yuan was already a student of Shrek Academy. Tang Hao bullied the weak. Furthermore, he bullied his own student. Flender was already unhappy. How could he still treat Tang Hao? He wasn't a nanny. Furthermore, Tang Hao was a titled Douluo. He could just lie down for half a month. Anyway, he wouldn't die. Taking care of his meals for half a month was already extremely benevolent. Chapter 257. Knock knock. Soft knocks could be heard from outside the wooden hut. Lu Yuan was immediately jolted awake from his meditation. He was a little late yesterday because of Tang Hao's matter, so he spent a little more time meditating today. Creak. He opened the door gently, and Zhu Zhuqing's cold face entered his sight. Good morning, Zhuqing. Lu Yuan's eyes lit up when he saw Zhu Zhuqing, who was already dressed up. Good morning. Why are you up so late today? Zhu Zhuqing was a little confused. Lu Yuan usually woke up very early. Something happened last night, so I woke up late. Lu Yuan held Zhu Zhuqing's hand and pulled her into the wooden hut. After that, he told her everything that happened last night. He also told her about how Long Xiaoyaro beat up Tang Hao. The vast heaven Douluo is actually so shameless. Zhu Zhuqing was a little angry. A titled Douluo was actually willing to lower himself to deal with a soul ancestor. He was really shameless. Ah, this is the tradition of the Clear Sky sect. They're always protecting their own. It's not just the Clear Sky sect. Their subsidiary family, the Clan of Strength, is also a classic example. When you beat up the young, the old comes. However, with Elder Long around, he's the only one who's unlucky. The so-called vast heaven Douluo is almost crippled. Lu Yuan smiled and said, "Yes, as long as you're fine," Zhu Zhuqing said softly. She didn't care about the vast heaven Douluo. Whether he was dead or alive had nothing to do with her. In her heart, it was enough as long as Lu Yuan was safe. "Of course I'm fine. Zhuqing, take a seat first. I'll go and wash up," Lu Yuan said. "Okay." Zhu Zhuqing replied softly. After washing up, Lu Yuan held Zhu Zhuqing's hand and walked towards the canteen. Almost everyone was there, including Dai Mubai. Of course, Tang San wasn't there. Tang San was still lying on the bed because he was still injured. On the other hand, Xiao Wu was present. Her face was still somewhat pale. However, the gaze she directed at Lu Yuan was filled with hostility. It was likely due to him injuring Tang San. Lu Yuan naturally ignored her gaze. He couldn't be bothered with a mere rabbit. Anyway, when the time came, she would know what cruelty was. What was the use of haggling over it now? "Boss Yuan." Ma Hongjuan's eyes were sharp. He spotted Lu Yuan at a glance and immediately greeted him with a smile. Ning Rongrong raised her head, smiled at the two, and nodded. After one night, this girl seemed a little different. Lu Yuan knew that Ning Rongrong had feelings for him. He was not a blockhead, but he was really not interested in Ning Rongrong. So sometimes, he didn't pay much attention to her. As for what was going on in her head, he might not know. Unlike Zhu Zhuqing, Lu Yuan's thoughts were all on her. When she frowned, Lu Yuan knew what she was worried about. With one look, he knew what she wanted to say. The two of them already had a tacit understanding between them. Of course, the one who had the best tacit understanding with Lu Yuan was still Chihiro Snow. Sometimes, when the two of them were together, no matter what he wanted to do, Chihiro Snow would be able to cooperate with him very well. Among his current women, Chihiro Snow's IQ should be the highest. Jiyu Yuena could only be considered half of it now because their relationship had not been completely confirmed yet. Jiyu Yuena's scheming was indeed top-notch, but her temperament was much simpler. Her understanding of human nature was not as good as Chihiro Snow's. Chihiro Snow really learned how to understand human nature from a young age. Sometimes, when facing Chihiro Snow, Lu Yuan would feel a little pressured because she was too smart. Smart women were not easy to fool. Cough cough. Back to the main topic. Seeing Lu Yuan's arrival, Oscar's face had a wretched smile. "Lu Yuan, aren't you going to introduce this to us?" Lu Yuan looked at him with amusement. His eyes looked around and said, "Her name is Zhu Zhuqing, she's my girlfriend." Zhu Zhuqing, a good name, a nice name, and a beautiful person. Oscar giggled. Catcher. An ear-piercing sound was heard. Dai Mubai was holding a piece of wood in his hand, which was broken off from the table just now. Dai Mubai's face was very ugly. His pair of evil eyes looked back and forth between Lu Yuan and Zhu Zhuqing. Lu Yuan naturally did not pay attention to him. If he dared to find trouble with him, then Lu Yuan would really think highly of him. Unfortunately, he did not have the guts. Sitting on the chair, he could only glare at the two of them. Is this the legendary gaze that can kill? Lu Yuan did not pay attention to Dai Mubai, and Zhu Zhuqing did not as well. To her, Dai Mubai was already a stranger. She only had Lu Yuan in her heart now. He was the one who abandoned Zhu Zhuqing first, so he could not blame Zhu Zhuqing and Lu Yuan for privately pledging their lives to each other. Everyone had the right to pursue happiness. Hiss. Shocked by Dai Mubai's expression, Oscar felt that the atmosphere in the cafeteria seemed to be a little strange. Other than him and Fatty, everyone else's eyes seemed to be focused on Lu Yuan. One was full of hostility, one was a little bit of love, and one was deeply unfriendly. However, Lu Yuan's expression did not change. He pulled Zhu Zhuqing to sit down and quietly ate breakfast. To be honest, Oscar felt that it was a little awkward and at a loss for him to stay in such an environment. Moreover, the beautiful girl named Ning Rongrong seemed to have feelings for Lu Yuan. This made Oscar, who had just felt the budding of love, suffer a heavy blow. But fortunately, it was his first time meeting Ning Rongrong. He was only surprised by her looks, and it was not love yet. After being depressed for a while, he did not care about it anymore. He went to one side and ate breakfast with Ma Hongjun. "Come, Zhuqing, have an egg." Lu Yuan handed the white and tender egg in his hand to Zhu Zhuqing. Shrek Academy's breakfast had never been good, and eggs were considered a high-end ingredient. Zhu Zhuqing received the egg and ate it in small bites. She was a little shy with everyone's gazes, but after more than 2 years of experience, her temperament was no longer the same as before. She could bear with just a few gazes. Furthermore, with Lu Yuan beside her, she was exceptionally relaxed. She did not feel nervous at all. Seeing their intimate actions, Dai Mubai clenched his fists so tightly that his knuckles cracked. His face was ashen. Zhu Zhuqing, his fiancée, was actually so close to another man. No wonder he felt that something was wrong when he heard the word kitten. It turned out that Lu Yuan's kitten was actually his fiancée. Dai Mubai only felt that his head seemed to have become much heavier. He wanted to find trouble with Lu Yuan and question them. However, when he thought of Lu Yuan's terrifying strength, Dai Mubai was a little hesitant. He was hesitant and could only look at the two of them unkindly. Chapter 258. Unlike the original Shrek's 7 monsters, who got along harmoniously, the current Shrek's 7 monsters didn't have a good relationship with one another. Zhu Zhuqing was his woman, Ning Rongrong was the closest to him, and Oscar and Ma Hongjun were also quite close to him. In Lu Yuan's eyes, the division of Shrek's 7 monsters was already beginning to take shape, and it would be very difficult for them to unite as one as they had in the original novel. Lu Yuan didn't spend much effort on all of this, and he only pushed them a little. After breakfast, it was naturally time for Flender to gather. After lecturing everyone, he asked everyone to go back and gather at night. Only Ning Rongrong and Oscar were left behind. Lu Yuan knew that another scene was about to unfold. The little witch was still a little witch, especially when Lu Yuan wasn't around. She couldn't be bothered to pretend. Ning Rongrong, who hadn't experienced any hardships, would sometimes restrain herself in front of Lu Yuan, but that was because she had seen Lu Yuan's prowess and knew about Lu Yuan's background. In addition, she liked Lu Yuan, so she wouldn't throw a tantrum in front of Lu Yuan. However, things were very different now that the target was Oscar. It wasn't that easy to woo Ning Rongrong, especially when she had already made up her mind not to give up on Lu Yuan. Oscar could only return empty-handed. However, these weren't things that he had to worry about. At this moment, he was holding Zhu Zhuqing's hand and preparing to take a stroll in Soto City. Speaking of which, he had gone shopping with Hulena in Martial Soul City and Chihiro Snow in the Heaven Do Empire, but he hadn't gone shopping with Zhu Zhuqing. He had to make up for that. He couldn't favor one and discriminate against the other. He had to be fair. Suddenly, Lu Yuan stopped in his tracks and looked in a direction. "Come out, I can already see you." After he finished speaking, Dai Mubai walked out from behind a tree. "It's you. I thought you weren't coming," Lu Yuan said calmly as he looked at Dai Mubai. "You knew I would come?" Dai Mubai asked with a surprised look on his face. "I've heard about you from Zhu Qing," Lu Yuan said as he held Zhu Zhuqing's hand. "Really? Since that's the case, you should know that Zhu Zhuqing is my fiancé." Dai Mubai looked at Lu Yuan with a hint of anger in his voice. "So what? Are you worthy of her?" Lu Yuan looked at Dai Mubai with disdain. "Where were you when Zhu Qing needed protection the most? Where were you when Zhu Qing was facing her own sister's assassination attempt? When Zhu Qing was being chased by soul beasts and was on the verge of death, where were you? You abandoned Zhu Qing and only cared about running away. What right do you have to say that she's your fiancé? Me. Shocked by Lu Yuan's words, Dai Mubai took a few steps back. He wanted to refute, but he didn't know what to say. It's fine if you're willing to be a pervert and spend your days eating and waiting for death, but do you want Zhu Qing to die with you in the future? Lu Yuan's eyes were sharp, and his aura surged, making Dai Mubai feel pressured. His breathing quickened, and his face turned pale. Let me tell you. From today onwards, Zhu Qing has nothing to do with you, Dai Mubai. She's no longer the princess consort of the Sionra Empire. She can only be my, Lu Yuan's, woman for the rest of her life. As for you, go wherever you want to die. If you dare to pester Zhu Qing in the future, don't blame me for being ruthless. Lu Yuan's tone was threatening, and a trace of killing intent flashed across his eyes. If Dai Mubai really stuck to her like a dogskin plaster, he didn't mind sending him to heaven. He would never allow anyone to touch his woman. After he finished speaking, he no longer paid attention to Dai Mubai. He pulled Zhu Qing's hand and turned to leave. Dai Mubai looked at Lu Yuan's departing figure with an uncertain expression. He was unwilling to accept that Lu Yuan had snatched Zhu Qing away, but he was also blaming himself for his depravity and inaction. Speaking of which, it was a lie to say that his feelings for Zhu Qing were deep. Although the two of them were engaged at a young age, they didn't interact much. When Dai Mubai left, he was disheartened and had completely given up on fighting for the throne. When he was hanging around with women, did he ever consider Zhu Qing? The reason why he was so angry was that he couldn't bear the humiliation of his fiancée being abducted by Lu Yuan. Zhu Qing, do you feel the same way? Looking at the backs of the two of them, they seemed to be a perfect match. However, Dai Mubai was filled with unwillingness. Ta. Zhu Qing stopped in her tracks. Lu Yuan is the person I've set my mind on. His words are my thoughts. Dai Mubai, we have nothing to do with each other anymore. Don't pester me anymore. We're already strangers. Zhu Qing's voice was soft, but firm. These were her true thoughts. You have to know that if you leave with him, the royal family won't let this matter rest. Dai Mubai said. His tone carried a tinge of threat. The Star Luo royal family is nothing. It's fine if they don't find trouble with me. If they dare to, they can't blame me for taking Dai Tianfeng's head off. Lu Yuan's voice was calm, but there was a tinge of disdain in his voice. Indeed, Lu Yuan was still far from being able to fight the entire Sionra Empire. However, he could turn the Star Luo royal family into a river of blood with a wave of his hand. If he was angered, he could get Long Xiaoyaro to take Dai Tianfeng's head. Who could stop Long Xiaoyaro? You are really arrogant. Dai Mubai's eyes were spitting fire. Lu Yuan really didn't care about the Star Luo royal family at all. If you're still barking here, I'll take your head first. A prince in trouble isn't worth much. Furthermore, they won't find trouble with Zhu Qing if you're dead. Lu Yuan turned around. There was a tinge of killing intent in his eyes. He and Dai Mubai were like fire and water. They were destined to be enemies. If he was forced into a corner, he would really kill Dai Mubai before killing Tang San. At most, it would be less fun in the future. He was the chess player in this game. He had the final say on when to kill. He was just playing house with them now. It would be over when he got tired of them. You. Dai Mubai's hair stood on end when he saw the killing intent in Lu Yuan's eyes. Lu Yuan really wanted to kill him. He wasn't joking. His killing intent made Dai Mubai's heart tremble. If I kill you, I'm sure your useless brother will thank me. Lu Yuan smiled. His handsome face was like the smile of a demon in Dai Mubai's eyes. Let's go, Zhu Qing. Lu Yuan grabbed Zhu Qing's hand and turned to leave. Dai Mubai. In his eyes, Tang San was nothing more than a piece of trash. There was no point in staying in Shrek Academy after he gave Tang San a huge gift. He could consider changing the map. Chapter 259. He strolled around Soto City with Zhu Qing. Lu Yuan, you said you wanted to kill Dai Mubai. Is that true? Zhu Zhuqing asked doubtfully as she held Lu Yuan's hand. What do you think? Lu Yuan smiled as he looked at Zhu Zhuqing. I'm not sure. But your gaze just now was really scary. That killing intent was too obvious. I thought you really wanted to kill him, Zhu Zhuqing said. If I really wanted to kill him just now, would you have stopped me? Lu Yuan looked at Zhu Zhuqing with a serious look in his eyes. I wouldn't. Zhu Zhuqing shook her head and said, no matter what you do, I'll be by your side and support you. Even if you want to go against the whole world. Zhu Zhuqing stared at Lu Yuan. It was Lu Yuan who gave her hope and care that she never had before. Since she had already chosen Lu Yuan, she was willing to face it with Lu Yuan no matter if it was good or bad. Good Zhuqing. Lu Yuan was touched. He hugged Zhu Zhuqing in his arms and kissed her forehead in public. Zhuqing, I'll never let you down in this life. Zhu Zhuqing nodded her head and dove into Lu Yuan's arms. After strolling around Soto City with Zhu Zhuqing for a long time, he was a little tired. It was noon now. Lu Yuan found a relatively high-end restaurant and walked in. What do you want to eat? Lu Yuan asked Zhu Zhuqing who was beside him. Fish. Zhu Zhuqing hesitated for a moment and said. I knew it. You greedy little cat. Lu Yuan tapped Zhu Zhuqing's nose lightly. He wasn't surprised by her answer. After all, Zhu Zhuqing loved to eat fish the most. She would never get sick of it. Then let's see if there's any delicious fish here. He led Zhu Zhuqing directly to a seat and sat down. Immediately, a waiter took the initiative to come forward. He had to admit that the service of this restaurant was quite good. Zhuqing, you order. Lu Yuan took the menu from the waiter and handed it to Zhu Zhuqing. Yes. Zhu Zhuqing was just about to take the menu when her eyes were suddenly attracted by something. She looked in the direction of the lower right corner and said, Lu Yuan, look. Lu Yuan didn't turn around and said, I saw it when I came in. Isn't she running? How can he finish 20 laps so quickly? Zhu Zhuqing's face was filled with doubt. Is there even a need to think about it? She must have slacked off halfway. She's the young miss of the Seven Treasures glazed sect after all. It's normal. Lu Yuan said. You seem to be very familiar with her. Zhu Zhuqing looked at Lu Yuan inquisitively. No, I've only seen him a few times. Really? Zhu Zhuqing didn't believe it. Why? Do you still suspect that I'm lying? Lu Yuan smiled and pinched Zhu Zhuqing's pretty face. Zhu Zhuqing's face was a little red when Lu Yuan pinched her pretty face. There was also a waiter next to them. This, and this. Finally, a grilled fish. That's it. Lu Yuan casually ordered a few dishes, handed the menu to the waiter, and sent him away. He also knew that with someone watching, Zhu Zhuqing's shy temperament would be a little uncomfortable. Watching the waiter walk away, Zhu Zhuqing said, I'm not suspecting that you're lying, but I think this Ning Rongrong likes you a little. Yesterday, when you held my hand and came in, she was full of hostility towards me. You may not have noticed it, but I sensed it clearly. So, do you have any explanation for this? Zhu Zhuqing held her cheek with her hand and looked at Lu Yuan with a questioning gaze. Explain what? Even if she likes me, what does it have to do with me? Lu Yuan said softly, I'm not interested in her. She's not as good as you. As he spoke, Lu Yuan's gaze slowly moved down and swept across Zhu Zhuqing's body. Her perky and full figure really made Lu Yuan reluctant to look away. What are you looking at? Zhu Zhuqing's pretty face instantly turned red. She grabbed Lu Yuan's soft waist. Pervert. I'm looking at you. As expected of my Zhuqing, you're really big. Lu Yuan giggled. You're still talking. Zhu Zhuqing's pretty face was as red as an apple. She pinched Lu Yuan's soft waist and fiercely twisted it, making Lu Yuan grimace. Oh right. Zhu Zhuqing seemed to have suddenly thought of something. You didn't open your polychoria just now, did you? Zhu Zhuqing was suddenly shocked. She looked at Lu Yuan with a fierce gaze. What are you thinking? Am I the kind of person who uses polychoria to peek? Lu Yuan casually flicked Zhu Zhuqing's finger. The latter immediately cried out and looked at Lu Yuan with some grievance. Lu Yuan gently lowered his head, moved closer to Zhu Zhuqing's ear, and said, "Even if I want to look, I'll do it openly. Tonight, I'll go to your place to sleep. I want to see how much you've grown." Hearing this, Zhu Zhuqing's delicate body suddenly trembled. She looked at Lu Yuan's eyes with a bit of shyness and also a bit of expectation. It seemed that Lu Yuan really hadn't hugged her to sleep for a long time. When she was in the ruins of life, especially when she was injured, she almost fell asleep in Lu Yuan's embrace every night. That feeling was exceptionally reassuring. It really made Zhu Zhuqing unconsciously miss it. Therefore, when she heard Lu Yuan's words, she actually didn't refute. Hee. Looking at Zhu Zhuqing's appearance, Lu Yuan suddenly laughed. "Little kitty, can't I deal with you? Sir, your dishes are here." The two were teasing each other when the waiter began to serve the dishes. Coincidentally, Ning Rongrong, who had been sitting with her back to them, suddenly turned her head and saw Lu Yuan and Zhu Zhuqing. "Lu Yuan, you are also eating here." Seeing Lu Yuan, Ning Rongrong's eyes were filled with surprise. As for Zhu Zhuqing, she was automatically ignored by her. "Ian, I came out to shop with Zhuqing and eat something on the way." Looking at the happy Ning Rongrong, Lu Yuan's eyes were indifferent. He knows that Ning Rongrong likes him. But he has carried too many emotional debts. Chihiro Snow, Hulena, and Zhu Zhuqing in front of him, not to mention Jiu Yuena. He has to admit that he likes Jiu Yuena a little. Therefore, he really doesn't want to provoke other girls now. "Oh." Listening to Lu Yuan's words, Ning Rongrong softly said "oh." Her face was flat, but it was hard to tell whether she was happy or angry. In front of Lu Yuan, Ning Rongrong seemed to be better at hiding her emotions. "Aren't you going to run 20 laps? Are you done? Or are you lazy halfway?" Lu Yuan looked at Ning Rongrong and decisively changed the topic. Sure enough, when she heard Lu Yuan's words, Ning Rongrong's face stiffened. "Running is too tiring. I'm really hungry and can't stand it, but I will run after eating." Ning Rongrong quickly explained, as if she was afraid that Lu Yuan would misunderstand that she likes to be lazy. Chapter 260. Haha. Seeing Ning Rongrong's anxious expression, Lu Yuan smiled and said, "You don't have to explain to me. What you do is your own business." Hearing Lu Yuan's words, Ning Rongrong was a little disappointed. He really didn't seem to care about her at all. But suddenly, Lu Yuan's tone changed. "But what?" Ning Rongrong raised her head and looked at Lu Yuan. Her eyes were sparkling. "If you really want to achieve some transformation, I think you still have to have a firm will. If you continue to do things half-heartedly, you're destined to not achieve much." Lu Yuan's tone was calm. Looking at Ning Rongrong's appearance, he couldn't help but remind her. Her temper might not change much, but her mentality was a big problem. If she only knew how to play tricks and slack off, no matter how talented she was destined to not achieve much. Ning Rongrong's talent wasn't bad. She was just a little playful. If she could put all her effort into cultivation, her soul power would be comparable to Tang San's. She was the little princess of the 7 Treasures Glazed sect, and she never lacked resources. Compared to Tang San, she was much better. Tang San could reach rank 29 without any resources, so there was no reason why she couldn't. Since you're going down the mountain, don't waste this rare opportunity. You're going to take over the 7 Treasures Glazed sect in the future. You have the responsibility of a sect on your shoulders. Think about it carefully. I'm sure Uncle Ning will be happy to see you change." Lu Yuan said softly. "Lu Yuan, Ning Rongrong looked at Lu Yuan and didn't know what to say. She had never thought about these things before. Because of the sword Douluo, bone Douluo, and Ning Fengji's love, Ning Rongrong gradually developed a Tsunda personality. The 7 Treasures Glazed sect was also one of the 3 upper sects. It had a high status. In such an environment, there wasn't much pressure. Furthermore, her talent was good, so it was normal that she didn't like to cultivate. However, for the sake of their friendship, Lu Yuan naturally wouldn't mind helping her if there was a chance to change her bad habits. After all, she didn't have any enmity with Lu Yuan. Although Ning Rongrong had a bad temper, she wasn't a bad person. Instead, she was a little naive. She was spoiled, so she might be a little rude and unreasonable. Go, do what you have to do. Don't let down your reputation as the little witch of the 7 treasures glazed sect. It's just 20 laps, how can it be hard for you? As Lu Yuan spoke, he gave Ning Rongrong a rare gentle smile. All right. Looking at Lu Yuan's smile, Ning Rongrong's heart seemed to be touched. She clenched her fists and said, I'll run now. I won't let you down. As she spoke, she quickly walked out of the restaurant with small steps. It seemed that she was going to complete the task of 20 laps that she had not completed. Looking at Ning Rongrong's back disappearing in the restaurant, Zhu Zhuqing looked at Lu Yuan with a strange look. Why are you looking at me with that look? Looking at Zhu Zhuqing's appearance, Lu Yuan asked in confusion. Oh, your words are really useful. You just said a few words and she went to run obediently. Zhu Zhuqing's tone was flat, and there was no trace of joy or anger. You're thinking too much again. Lu Yuan rolled his eyes. When Zhu Zhuqing opened her mouth, he knew what she meant. Thinking too much? I didn't think too much. She said that she wouldn't let you down. Zhu Zhuqing's tone had a hint of strangeness. That's what she said. What does it have to do with me? I'm just saying a few words on account of my good relationship with her father and the fact that I'm acquainted with her. After all, she's quite talented and can't be wasted like this. Otherwise, it would be a pity. I don't mean anything else, Lu Yuan said. Chimph, who knows? Zhu Zhuqing wrinkled her nose and stared at Lu Yuan. Oh, you're still angry. Lu Yuan hugged Zhu Zhuqing's waist, lowered his head, and directly sealed Zhu Zhuqing's red lips. Suddenly, Zhu Zhuqing let out a whimper. Without much struggle, she closed her eyes and let Lu Yuan do whatever he wanted. Gently moving his lips away from Zhu Zhuqing's red lips, Lu Yuan looked at Zhu Zhuqing's slightly blurred little eyes and nodded with satisfaction. Arrogant little kitten, can't I teach you a lesson? Zhu Zhuqing lay in Lu Yuan's arms and listened to Lu Yuan's heartbeat. She said softly, Lu Yuan, don't forget what you promised me and Hulena. You can't go back on your words. Lu Yuan nodded gently. I said that if there were no irresistible factors, there would only be the 3 of you in this life. Then you really only have the 3 of us now? Zhu Zhuqing asked. I really only have the 3 of you now, Lu Yuan said, and secretly added a sentence in his heart. I'm not wrong. Jiu Yuana is not a human, so she can't be counted. That's good. Zhu Zhuqing gently blinked her beautiful eyes. She was quite satisfied with Lu Yuan's answer. After all, she also didn't want another person to share Lu Yuan's love with her. Originally, she was the last one to come, so she definitely didn't get the most love from Lu Yuan. If another person came, then she would get even less love. Lu Yuan kissed Zhu Zhuqing's lips again. Suddenly, as if thinking of something, he asked, did that girl pay when she left? I'm not sure, but I don't think so. Here, it seems that you pay after you finish eating. Zhu Zhuqing pondered for a moment and said. So I have to pay for her. Lu Yuan helplessly shook his head. Can't this girl pay the bill before leaving? Do you still lack this money? Zhu Zhuqing looked at Lu Yuan with some amusement. It's not a matter of lack of money. I just feel like I'm a sucker for no reason. Forget it, it's just a small matter. Our dishes should be coming soon. Eat more later. Tonight, there may be a battle waiting for you. Lu Yuan laughed. Battle? What battle? Zhu Zhuqing looked at Lu Yuan with some curiosity. You'll know when the time comes. Lu Yuan didn't directly explain. Instead, he smiled faintly. This aroused Zhu Zhuqing's curiosity. Still keeping me in suspense. Zhu Zhuqing's beautiful eyes looked at Lu Yuan with rebuke. However, since Lu Yuan didn't say, she was too lazy to ask. But in her heart, there was some anticipation. The two of them didn't talk for long before the waiter started to serve the dishes. Seeing this, Zhu Zhuqing quickly crawled out from Lu Yuan's embrace. After chatting and laughing for a meal, Lu Yuan pulled Zhu Zhuqing to walk around Soto City. He bought some clothes, jewelry, and so on for Zhu Zhuqing. All of them were expensive and good. For a moment, he really spent money like water. However, Lu Yuan didn't mind. Who asked him to be rich? He was rich and willful. When the night was getting late, the two of them returned to the academy. Chapter 261. Night fell, and Flender gathered everyone in the plaza. Ning Rongrong and Oscar were there too. Judging from her appearance, she should have finished 20 laps. Ning Rongrong flashed a sweet smile at Lu Yuan when she saw him. Oscar's eyes almost popped out of their sockets when he saw her. However, he sighed and shook his head. No matter how good this lady was, he had no chance with her. Lu Yuan nodded at Ning Rongrong and pulled Zhu Zhuqing to one side. Flender saw everyone and nodded. He said, "Everyone is here. Very good. We will complete our test in Soto City tonight. I will lead the way, and all of you follow me closely." As Flender spoke, he led the way. Lu Yuan and the rest followed behind Flender. Lu Yuan and Zhu Zhuqing were in a row, and they followed closely behind Flender. Following behind them were Ma Hongjun and Xiao Wu, followed by Ning Rongrong and Oscar. Dai Mubai walked alone at the back. Perhaps Lu Yuan's murderous intent had frightened Dai Mubai, and he didn't dare to get too close to Lu Yuan now. Lu Yuan's soul power was the highest among all the students. If he unleashed his full strength, he wouldn't be much slower than Flender. However, he maintained the same speed as Zhu Zhuqing. Zhu Zhuqing was also rank 37, and her soul power was the same as Dai Mubai's. She was also an agility-type soul master, and her speed was second only to Lu Yuan. She was naturally much faster than Ma Hongjun and the rest. Ma Hongjun and Xiao Wu's soul power was similar, and they were both rank 28 or 29. They were also battle soul masters, so they were faster than Ning Rongrong and Oscar. As auxiliary-type soul masters, Oscar and Ning Rongrong were undoubtedly the slowest, and it was normal for them to fall behind. A simple run was actually a simple division of everyone's abilities. Shrek Academy was only 10 kilometers away from Soto City. For these soul masters who were at least rank 27, using their soul power for such a short distance wasn't considered a huge drain. Even auxiliary-type soul masters, such as Ning Rongrong and Oscar, could withstand it. Soon, they arrived at Soto City and found a tea stall to sit down. Lu Yuan naturally wouldn't let Flanders order any inferior tea leaves. He wasn't used to drinking such things. After ordering some better tea, everyone sat down. "Director, are we having our classes here today?" Oscar asked. "It's not here, it's opposite." Flender pointed at the tall building opposite them, which was the Great Soul Arena of Soto City. "What is this place?" Xiao Wu had never seen the Great Fighting Soul Arena, so she was a little curious for a moment. This is the Great Soul Arena of Soto City, a place specially used for soul masters to fight. Before Flender could speak, Lu Yuan took a sip of tea and said softly, "Timpi." Seeing that it was Lu Yuan who spoke, Xiao Wu snorted and turned her head away. Lu Yuan didn't bother to look at her and continued, "If I'm not mistaken, the dean means that all soul warriors will experience a competition in the Great Soul Arena tonight." "You're right, kid." "Yes, that's what I mean," Flender said. "But isn't it a bit early?" Dai Mubai, who had been silent, said. "This is what they will experience sooner or later. You have to remember that you are not ordinary people, you are monsters. Monsters naturally have to be taught like monsters." Flender said faintly. "Dean Flender is right. Actual combat is the only essence of a soul warrior. In the Great Soul Arena, you will encounter all kinds of soul warriors. Their fighting methods are varied, which can allow you to quickly accumulate combat experience and hone your combat skills. If you want to become stronger quickly, the Great Soul Arena is actually a good place to hone your strength." Looking at everyone calmly, Lu Yuan said faintly, "So when you said that I will have a battle tonight, You were referring to the Great Soul Arena? Zhu Zhuqing remembered Lu Yuan's words and asked softly. Well, since Dean Flender said that we will gather at night for a special class, then it can only be the Great Soul Arena. Lu Yuan said with a slight smile. Oh. Hearing this, Zhu Zhuqing nodded. Well, we have rested enough. Let's go. Flender put down his teacup and took the lead to the Great Soul Arena. Lu Yuan and others followed behind Flender. Lu Yuan, are you the only soul warriors participating in the battle today? We auxiliary-type soul masters shouldn't need it, right? While walking, Ning Rongrong came to Lu Yuan's side and asked softly. If it's a one-on-one, there shouldn't be a need, but if it's a two-on-two, you auxiliary-type soul masters should also participate. You can't not accumulate combat experience just because you are auxiliary-type soul masters, right? Lu Yuan said. There's a two-on-two battle? Ning Rongrong blinked and asked. She knew about the Great Soul Arena, but as an auxiliary-type soul master, she had never been there, so she didn't know some of the rules of the Great Soul Arena. Of course, the ordinary forms of soul fighting in the Great Soul Arena are mainly divided into three types, namely one-on-one, two-on-two, and group battles. You have to participate in one-on-one or two-on-two, but in two-on-two, it's best to have a team. Lu Yuan said. Then let's form a team. Ning Rongrong said softly. Sorry, he will form a team with me. Zhu Zhuqing came over from nowhere and wrapped her right hand around Lu Yuan's left arm. This girl. Lu Yuan was a little amused in his heart. He had explained it to her during the day, but this girl was still jealous. But it was good to be jealous, at least it showed that this girl cared about him. Seeing Zhu Zhuqing's action, Ning Rongrong's pretty face froze slightly. She looked at Lu Yuan with a touch of loss in her eyes. I won't form a team with you. My current level is a little high. You won't have any experience with me, but you can form a team with Ning Rongrong. With the strength of your 9 lives cat martial soul and the assistance of the 7 treasures glazed pagoda, your chances of winning should be quite high. Looking at Zhu Zhuqing, Lu Yuan said. Form a team with her? Zhu Zhuqing glanced at Ning Rongrong, then looked at Lu Yuan with some doubt. He knew that there was a little friction between her and Ning Rongrong, so why did he arrange for them to form a team? Was it really because he said that the chances of winning would be higher? Otherwise, if you don't form a team with her, who else do you want to form a team with? Ning Rongrong is your best choice. Lu Yuan looked at Zhu Zhuqing with a smile, then turned to Ning Rongrong and said, similarly, Zhuqing is also a good partner for you. She is very strong, almost unrivaled in the Soul Elder realm. With your assistance ability, it won't be a problem for you to fight 1 against 2. The chances of winning are still quite high. What do you think? Good. Then I'll form a team with her. Ning Rongrong's beautiful eyes flickered slightly, and she said. Chapter 262. As they walked, Lu Yuan introduced the rules of the Great Soul Arena to several people. Let's go, Zhuqing, I'll take you to register your badge. This thing is very important. Only with this can you participate in the soul battle. Holding Zhu Zhuqing's hand, Lu Yuan walked to the front desk. Registration of soul battle? Sir. Because Lu Yuan was not wearing a mask now, the receptionist did not recognize him. Lu Yuan was the legend of the Great Soul Arena, Emperor Dragon. And because Lu Yuan was too handsome now, the receptionist only had eyes for Lu Yuan, but completely ignored Zhu Zhuqing beside Lu Yuan. Not me, it's her. Lu Yuan pointed to Zhu Zhuqing beside him. Oh, it's this young lady. The waiter said quickly. Please think about your title, young lady, let's call it Civet. Zhu Zhuqing said softly. Okay, young lady, what's your level? The waiter asked. Level 37. Hiss. There was a trace of astonishment on the attendant's face. Zhu Zhuqing's appearance was very well developed, but there was still a trace of immaturity on her small face. She was definitely not older than 14 years old. To have a rank 37 soul force at such a young age, she was simply an exceptional genius. Contestant Civet, this is your soul battle badge, please keep it. The waiter's expression became more respectful. Such a genius was far from being comparable to an ordinary soul elder. Maybe there was a big force behind her. For the experienced waiter, she had already seen this a lot. Your Great Soul Arena is in Area A, you can go there and wait for a while. After registering a one-on-one battle for Zhu Zhuqing, the waiter's voice sounded. Let's go, Zhuqing. Lu Yuan smiled slightly. Zhu Zhuqing followed beside Lu Yuan. Lu Yuan, where is Area A? Zhu Zhuqing was not familiar with this place, so she could only ask Lu Yuan next to her. This is Area A, wait for a while, it should be your turn soon. Holding Zhu Zhuqing's small hand, Lu Yuan smiled. Let's go, I'll take you somewhere. Where is it? Zhu Zhuqing was curious. I'll take you to see what our honorable dean is doing. Lu Yuan chuckled softly. With his understanding of Flender, this guy must be betting again. After all, in the Great Soul Arena, as long as one's eyesight was sharp, it was actually quite easy to make money. Ah! Zhu Zhuqing's voice sounded. What about Ning Rongrong? She hasn't registered her soul yet. Zhu Zhuqing suddenly asked. Yes, I forgot about her. Lu Yuan patted his head. He was so focused on Zhu Zhuqing that he forgot about Ning Rongrong. When he came in just now, he only cared about pulling Zhu Zhuqing. There were a lot of people, so he forgot about Ning Rongrong. Forget it, let's go back and find her, Lu Yuan said with a sigh. Zhu Zhuqing nodded. It was not easy to find Ning Rongrong. The two of them formed a team called Qingrong. They were considered to be partners. In fact, this combination was quite good. It was much better to be partners with two girls than with those male students. After registering, the three of them returned to the lounge in Area A. Coincidentally, Shrek's participants tonight were all in Area A. Boss Yuan, you guys are back? Seeing Lu Yuan, Ma Hongjun immediately stood up and greeted him. Oscar also smiled and nodded at Lu Yuan. Xiao Wu, who was sitting at the side, snorted at Lu Yuan. Dai Mubai, on the other hand, did not greet Lu Yuan, nor did he do anything provocative. He just pretended not to see the three of them. Lu Yuan naturally did not care about Dai Mubai and Xiao Wu's attitude. He nodded at Oscar and Ma Hongjun plainly, and asked, are you two not going to participate in the soul battle tonight? No, I'm too lazy to move today. Ma Hongjun stretched, and a circle of fat was revealed on his round belly. Lu Yuan shook his head helplessly. You're already so fat, yet you're still so lazy. Serves you right for getting fatter. Boss Yuan, you're not going to play tonight? Ma Hongjun knew about Lu Yuan's battle record. It was truly terrifying. Challenging someone of a higher rank was like drinking water. Anyway, it was quite perverted. Ma Hongjun was ashamed of his inferiority. Of course. Since I'm here, I naturally have to fight before going back. Usually, other than when I fight with Teacher Zhao, there are very few opportunities to go all out like this, Lu Yuan said. Haha, then we'll wait to see Boss Yuan's elegance. Ma Hongjun chuckled. Lu Yuan smiled and pulled Zhu Zhuqing to sit on the sofa at the side. After the two of them sat down, Ning Rongrong sat quietly on the other side of Lu Yuan. Seeing Ning Rongrong's actions, Zhu Zhuqing's eyes flashed, but she did not do anything in the end. It seems like it should be your turn soon, Zhuqing, Lu Yuan said after looking at the time. Zhu Zhuqing responded softly. Let me see how powerful the 9 Lives Lynx's superb martial soul is later. I'm quite curious about your third soul skill. Lu Yuan chuckled softly. I won't let you down. There was a hint of confidence in Zhu Zhuqing's eyes. She was no longer the Zhu Zhuqing of the past. Her improvement would definitely surprise Lu Yuan. When she was fighting with Lu Yuan the other day, Lu Yuan was furious because Tang San suddenly used a hidden weapon. He unleashed his true strength and casually beat Tang San up. Zhu Zhuqing actually did not unleash much of her strength before the battle ended. This time, Zhu Zhuqing would really show the results of her cultivation over the past 2 years. To be honest, Lu Yuan was actually quite curious. Just as the two of them were talking, the voice from the broadcast suddenly sounded, next round, contestant Zhu Zhuqing versus contestant Dai Mubai. Both contestants, please come on stage. Everyone was shocked when they heard the voice from the broadcast. What a coincidence. Dai Mubai was stunned at first. Then, a hint of viciousness that no one noticed flashed through his eyes. However, it disappeared in a flash. However, Lu Yuan frowned. Although the viciousness in Dai Mubai's eyes disappeared very quickly and others might not notice it, how could he hide it from him? There was a hint of coldness in his eyes. It seems like Dai Mubai hasn't learned his lesson. With a cold glint in his eyes, Lu Yuan leaned over and whispered into Zhu Zhuqing's ear, "Zhu Qing, use all your strength later. Don't hold back." "What's wrong, Lu Yuan?" Zhu Zhuqing asked doubtfully. There's a hint of viciousness in Dai Mubai's eyes. "I suspect that he's taking the opportunity to harm you, so you mustn't be soft-hearted," Lu Yuan said. Zhu Zhuqing nodded when she heard that. She trusted Lu Yuan 100%. Since Lu Yuan said that, he must have his reasons. Chapter 263. In the soul dueling arena, Zhu Zhuqing and Dai Mubai appeared above the ring. Dai Mubai's eyes flashed fiercely as he looked at Zhu Zhuqing. He couldn't beat Lu Yuan, but he wanted to teach Zhu Zhuqing a lesson today to vent his anger. He wanted to see what kind of expression Lu Yuan would have when he saw Zhu Zhuqing being brutally abused by him outside the ring, yet unable to help. Dai Mubai's heart was already filled with resentment and unwillingness. It was still all right when Lu Yuan was suppressing him. Now that Lu Yuan wasn't around, and only he and Zhu Zhuqing were in the ring, the resentment and anger that arose from the humiliation couldn't be controlled and exploded. He didn't even consider that even if he severely injured Zhu Zhuqing, Lu Yuan would take revenge on him. Or it could be said that he didn't consider these things at all when he was engulfed in anger. Or even if he expected this situation, the anger in his heart made him a little crazy. Even if he was going to be bullied by Lu Yuan later, he wanted to make Lu Yuan suffer first. However, what he didn't know was that Zhu Zhuqing's soul power had already reached rank 37. Coupled with the 9 Lives Lynx's superb martial soul, Dai Mubai's white tiger was no match for Zhu Zhuqing. Otherwise, with Lu Yuan's character, why would he put Zhu Zhuqing in danger? He wasn't Tang San in the original work. He knew that Xiao Wu's identity might be exposed, but he still brought Xiao Wu to Martial Soul City and said that it was for Shrek's glory. He was just coveting the few soul bones in the Martial Soul Palace. He just wanted to take revenge. He lacked strength and wanted to obtain soul bones to increase his strength. He said it in a dignified manner, but no one knew what he was thinking. Lu Yuan, on the other hand, was different from him. He would not allow his women to be in any kind of danger. If anyone dared to threaten them, he would eliminate them with thunderous means. Why did Lu Yuan keep targeting Tang San? It was because Tang San's existence was a hidden danger to the Martial Soul Palace. He killed Bibidon in the original work, harmed Chihiro Snow and Hulena, and schemed against Wang Chua. It was also because of this that Lu Yuan kept targeting him. Otherwise, so what if Tang San was a demon who killed people without batting an eyelid? It had nothing to do with Lu Yuan. At most, he would take care of it when he saw it. He wouldn't be like this. Wasn't it just to avenge Chihiro Snow and the rest? Otherwise, with Lu Yuan's character, wouldn't it be better for him to cultivate alone and travel with the people he liked? It was a pity that there were too many responsibilities and burdens on Lu Yuan's shoulders. He had no choice but to choose his current path. However, even though he believed in Zhu Zhuqing's strength, Lu Yuan still reminded Zhu Zhuqing to give it her all. She couldn't be soft-hearted. After all, although Zhu Zhuqing looked cold, she was still as pure and kind as before. Lu Yuan was worried that she would be soft-hearted and give Dai Mubai the opportunity to hurt her. Lu Yuan wouldn't allow that to happen. However, regardless of whether Dai Mubai won or lost, Lu Yuan wouldn't let him off so easily. He could allow others to provoke him or even plot against him. However, if anyone dared to touch the people close to him, he would let them know what cruelty was. Zhu Zhuqing felt a chill in her heart when she saw the vicious look in Dai Mubai's eyes. She knew that Lu Yuan was right. Dai Mubai didn't have pure intentions. Thinking of this, Zhu Zhuqing's eyes flashed with sharpness. Although she was kind-hearted, after 2 years of experience in the mainland, she also knew what a sinister person's heart was. Towards those who wanted to harm her, Zhu Zhuqing would also let go of her kindness. After all, being kind to your enemies was being cruel to yourself. Let the match begin, the host announced. Zhu Zhuqing, I'll show you the power of the White Tiger martial soul today. It's not something your netherworld civet can compare to, Dai Mubai roared. The White Tiger martial soul was instantly attached to his body. His body grew by almost 20 centimeters. He stretched out his hands, which were wrapped in white fur. A pair of sharp tiger claws flashed with a cold light. Yellow, and purple soul rings rippled beneath Dai Mubai's body. Netherworld civet, that's already a thing of the past. There was a trace of disdain in Zhu Zhuqing's cold voice. In an instant, black light surged and a huge shadow of a black cat appeared behind Zhu Zhuqing. Its ears turned into cat ears and its hands turned into sharp claws, flickering with a dark cold light. Meow. A loud meow rang out, and the black cat opened its clear blue eyes. 3 yellow, and purple soul rings rose from Zhu Zhuqing's body, and a powerful pressure pressed down on Dai Mubai from the black cat. What martial soul is this? It's not a netherworld civet at all. Dai Mubai's voice was filled with shock. His White Tiger martial soul was actually suppressed by Zhu Zhuqing's black cat martial soul. The pressure made Dai Mubai's heart tremble. Ever since he had become a soul master, he had been oppressed by someone else's aura before. However, he had never been oppressed by anyone else other than Lu Yuan. After all, his White Tiger martial soul was one of the top martial souls in the world. It was much stronger than Zhu Zhuqing's netherworld civet martial soul. However, Zhu Zhuqing's black cat martial soul suppressed his White Tiger martial soul today. How was this possible? Of course it's not a netherworld civet. It's a superb martial soul, the 9 lives lynx. Zhu Zhuqing's cold voice rang out. 9 lives lynx? What martial soul is this? I've never heard of it. Dai Mubai didn't believe it. He had never heard of the Zhu family's netherworld civet evolving into a 9 lives lynx martial soul. Of course you haven't heard of it. There are millions of martial souls in this world. How many do you know? Zhu Zhuqing said coldly. Very few people in this world know about the 9 lives lynx martial soul. Dai Mubai, you only know how to flirt. When have you studied martial souls? Isn't it normal that you don't know? You're just a frog at the bottom of a well. How dare you say that the world is as big as a fight? Zhu Zhuqing looked at Dai Mubai with disdain. Humans couldn't see the difference without comparison. Compared to Lu Yuan, Dai Mubai was a far cry from him in terms of looks, strength, temperament, character, and status. Even in terms of the most basic intelligence and knowledge, Lu Yuan was miles ahead of Dai Mubai. Take this. Zhu Zhuqing snorted coldly. Her body suddenly turned into a shadow and disappeared. At the same time, 3 light scratches appeared on the right side of Dai Mubai's face. Fresh blood seeped out. Don't hit people in the face. Sorry, but hit people in the face. Especially Dai Mubai, who only knew how to use his face to deceive women everywhere. He needed to be beaten even more. Chapter 264. Raw. Dai Mubai's face started to bleed after Zhu Zhuqing scratched it. Dai Mubai felt a burning pain on his face. He lifted his hand to touch it and realized that his hand was covered in blood. He was enraged and roared into the sky. Zhu Zhuqing, I want you dead. Dai Mubai roared. As a somewhat narcissistic playboy, Dai Mubai only cared about 2 things. One was his lifeblood, and the other was his face. He relied on his face to make a living, but Zhu Zhuqing had disfigured him. How could Dai Mubai not be furious? Let's see if you have the ability to do so. Zhu Zhuqing's figure appeared and scratched Dai Mubai's face again. Zhu Zhuqing's martial soul was a superb martial soul, the 9 lives lynx. It was the strongest martial soul in the cat clan, and also one of the best agility-type martial souls. Even though it wasn't considered extreme speed, it wasn't far off. Perhaps it wasn't the fastest, but it was definitely the best in terms of reaction time. With Zhu Zhuqing's rank 37 soul power and the 9 lives Lynx's support, even a rank 40 soul ancestor might not be able to match her speed. What's more, Dai Mubai couldn't even see Zhu Zhuqing's figure. His heterochromatic eye was just a decoration. It wasn't like Lu Yuan's polychoria, which contained boundless divine power. No matter how fast one was, they were as slow as a tortoise in his eyes. If the Golden Dragon War Body's immunity to all control-type skills and the Golden Dragon Armor's immunity to negative effects were the nemesis of control-type soul masters, then Lu Yuan's polychoria was the nemesis of all agility-type soul masters and spiritual-type soul masters. From his polychoria's point of view, even someone with extreme speed was as slow as a tortoise. Even the strongest spiritual-type soul master couldn't affect Lu Yuan at all. If his spiritual power wasn't enough, he would even suffer a backlash. Perhaps his spiritual power was above Lu Yuan's, but he couldn't use spiritual-type soul skills to affect Lu Yuan at all. This was because his polychoria was immune to most spiritual-type soul skills. Unless it was a pure spiritual attack, everything else was useless. However, if they were to compete in spiritual power, Lu Yuan still had the clear air divine seed and the vast sea cosmic shield in his mind. Needless to say, Lu Yuan's spiritual power was already very strong. It was extremely difficult to inflict damage to Lu Yuan's mental state. Zhu Zhuqing's cat paws landed on both sides of Dai Mubai's face. This time, it was very symmetrical. Dai Mubai's originally handsome face looked somewhat mournful as blood flowed out. She didn't know when, but Zhu Zhuqing had developed a dislike for this kind of handsome man who liked to go around seducing women. It was very likely that this thought came from Zhu Zhuqing's hidden dissatisfaction with Lu Yuan. Perhaps it was because Lu Yuan was very handsome, so it was easy for him to attract the attention of girls. Perhaps it was because Lu Yuan had her, Chihiro Snow, and Hulena. She was just one of his women. Although Zhu Zhuqing had always acted like she didn't care, how could she not care? No woman was willing to share a man with another woman. However, Zhu Zhuqing had no choice. She was the last one to join. In addition, Lu Yuan was indeed very good to her, so Zhu Zhuqing had always acted as if she was magnanimous and did not care about it. However, if she really didn't care, she wouldn't have asked Lu Yuan to promise her that it would only be the 3 of them. She also wouldn't have reminded Lu Yuan of his promise when Ning Rongrong tried to get close to Lu Yuan. Zhu Zhuqing loved Lu Yuan. She couldn't bear to blame Lu Yuan, even if Lu Yuan was a 3-timer. However, Zhu Zhuqing already loved Lu Yuan to the bone. In addition, Lu Yuan was also very good to her. He always thought of her well. Therefore, she silently accepted this. However, she was still unhappy. She was unhappy about the man's half-heartedness. She had never vented it out. Since she couldn't get angry at Lu Yuan, when Zhu Zhuqing found out that Dai Mubai was a big pervert, she vented her anger on Dai Mubai. It could be said that Dai Mubai unintentionally became Zhu Zhuqing's punching bag. It would be better if Dai Mubai didn't reveal that fierce look to Zhu Zhuqing. But now that Zhu Zhuqing noticed it, Zhu Zhuqing vented her anger on Dai Mubai without any scruples. Dai Mubai was a little unlucky. However, thinking about it carefully, he deserved it. Moreover, he had once abandoned Zhu Zhuqing and allowed her to fall into the abyss of despair. This enmity had to be avenged through Dai Mubai. First soul skill, White Tiger's Shield. Third soul skill, White Tiger's Vajra transformation. Dai Mubai was infuriated, and he wanted to tear Zhu Zhuqing to shreds. He immediately unleashed his first and third soul skills. Dai Mubai's attributes rose by a large margin, and his aura became much more majestic. Dai Mubai shouted. He leaped up and his tiger claws clawed at Zhu Zhuqing. Too slow. Zhu Zhuqing's first soul ring lit up. First soul skill, Netherworld Stab. Her body turned into an afterimage and clawed at Dai Mubai. Zhu Zhuqing's sharp claws made contact with Dai Mubai's body. However, only a few shallow scratches were left on Dai Mubai's body. His skin didn't even break. After all, Dai Mubai had used his White Tiger's shield and White Tiger's Vajra transformation. His body's defense had increased to a certain level. The 9 lives lynx was very strong. However, a mere 100-year soul skill wasn't enough to break through the defense of 2 soul skills. Dai Mubai slammed his claws down. His 2 soul skills didn't just increase his strength and defense. They could also increase his speed. This claw was much faster than the previous one. However, the 9 lives lynx's reflexes were the best in the world. Zhu Zhuqing twisted her body and dodged Dai Mubai's attack. She then clawed at Dai Mubai. "H, your claws can't break through my defense." Dai Mubai glared at Zhu Zhuqing with bloodshot eyes. To him, Zhu Zhuqing was even more detestable than Lu Yuan. This was because before she came, Lu Yuan didn't find trouble with him even though he didn't have a good relationship with him. However, once Zhu Zhuqing came, Lu Yuan revealed killing intent towards him. From Dai Mubai's point of view, perhaps Lu Yuan and Zhu Zhuqing were together because Zhu Zhuqing seduced him. It had to be said that when a person's spirit suffered a huge blow or was in an extreme emotional state, their thoughts would always stray. It was easy to walk into a dead end. Chapter 265. Oh my God, this beating is too ruthless. Seeing Zhu Zhuqing give Dai Mubai a slap on both sides of his face without any hesitation, and 10 claw marks immediately covered Dai Mubai's face, causing blood to flow out, Ma Hongjun clicked his tongue and said, "TSK, isn't this what you've always wanted to do?" Hearing Ma Hongjuan's words, Lu Yuan smiled slightly and said, "Hihi, that's true." This Dai Mubai used his whore face to hook up with who knows how many little girls. Today, he ended up like this. It's really satisfying. Ma Hongjun laughed mischievously, taking pleasure in Dai Mubai's misfortune. In this year, Ma Hongjun didn't know how many girls had been snatched away by Dai Mubai, probably 7 or 8. Therefore, Ma Hongjun had been holding back his anger. This was because he didn't have the ability to take revenge. Now that he saw Dai Mubai's miserable appearance, how could he not be happy? Mph, serves him right for bringing girls to a hotel room in broad daylight. Twins, you should cut off his manhood. Xiao Wu's angry voice sounded. Although she had some hostility towards Lu Yuan because Lu Yuan injured Tang San, in fact, she hated Dai Mubai more and thought that Dai Mubai was a big pervert. As for why Xiao Wu knew about Dai Mubai, it was because this time, Xiao Wu and the others also met Dai Mubai at the Rose Hotel and fought with him. Seeing Dai Mubai bring the twins to a hotel room, Xiao Wu naturally couldn't stand it. It had to be said that this world really had some fixed development routes. As long as Lu Yuan didn't interfere, it would still run according to the original trajectory. However, Lu Yuan's interference had led to a completely different path from the original work. Perhaps this was the interference of the world's will, forcefully pulling everything back to the normal track. However, it was ineffective against Lu Yuan. Other than Lu Yuan being a transmigrator, it was also related to the clear air seed in Lu Yuan's body. The clear air seed was a divine seed that nurtured the power of rules. It controlled the rules of the heavenly realm and all the worlds below it. It could be said that it could be destroyed with a thought. Lu Yuan had obtained the clear air scripture for a long time, and the divine power of the clear air scripture had already penetrated deep into Lu Yuan's body. It could be said that the current Lu Yuan carried the power of the rules with him, but it was abnormally thin. This kind of power could not be discovered by any god, but the will of a world could feel it. Anything that Lu Yuan's clear air god seed's rule power changed, the world will couldn't change it because this rule power was above the world will. Unlike ordinary transmigrators, changing the plot was equivalent to going against the heavens. From a certain point of view, the world will was equivalent to the heavenly Tao. Of course, in terms of level, it was far from the level of the heavenly Tao, but the principle was the same. Transmigrators changing the storyline was equivalent to going against the heavenly Tao. Under the heavenly Tao, small things could be changed, but the overall situation could not be changed. Changing some small things, such as snatching Tang San's opportunity, would not cause any problems. This was because, as the son of Providence, Tang San would have other opportunities. But once they wanted to kill Tang San, which was also killing the son of Providence, it would cause the world will, which was equivalent to the heavenly Tao's strong resistance. It might even cause the world will to kill and so on, and there would be great danger. But Lu Yuan was different. He had the clear air god seed, and his whole body emitted the rule power. This rule power was above the Douluo world's will, and he controlled the world will. This was equivalent to a transmigrator in a world controlled by the heavenly Tao. He had the power of the great Tao. The great Tao was above the heavenly Tao, and the heavenly Tao was under the jurisdiction of the great Tao. No matter how much trouble the transmigrator caused, there would not be any danger. So this was the same for Lu Yuan. No matter what Lu Yuan did, it was reasonable and in line with the development trend of the Douluo continent, and it would not cause the world will to resist. For example, if Lu Yuan wanted to kill Tang San, then the Douluo world's will would not have the slightest resistance. In short, it could be summarized in one sentence. If Tang San was the son of Providence of the Douluo continent, then Lu Yuan, who had the clear air god seed, was equivalent to the son of Providence of all the worlds under the control of the god realm, including the Douluo continent. His status was naturally higher than Tang San's by a lot. So, whatever he changed, it was an established reality. Even if he killed Tang San, nothing would happen to him. Because the Douluo continent's will was also a part of his clear air god seed's rule power. And even if he killed Tang San and caused the original trajectory to be interrupted, this was a normal change in the world's evolution in the eyes of the gods of the god realm, and it would not attract the attention of the god realm. This was the real terror of the clear air god seed. Although it did not display any strong offensive power, it had already eliminated the biggest hidden danger for Lu Yuan, and gave Lu Yuan enough time to develop. Why was it so easy for Lu Yuan to get the recognition of others? Especially the Silver Dragon King, Jiyu Yuana, who was once an expert who could stand shoulder to shoulder with the Divine King. Why was it so easy for her to get along with Lu Yuan, and even unknowingly fall in love with Lu Yuan? In fact, other than Lu Yuan's own attractiveness and bloodline, it might not be without the influence of the Son of Providence of the world. This was why in many fantasy novels, the male protagonists could easily woo the female protagonists, and even many outstanding women would throw themselves at them. Wasn't it because there was a hand in the dark pushing them? Why was it that Lu Yuan's path was smooth sailing, and those who opposed him did not have a good ending, including Tang San, the protagonist of the original novel? This was because Lu Yuan was blessed by the fortune of the Douluo divine realm and all of the other worlds under its control. Unless there was a feud between them, all of the living beings of these worlds would feel a sense of closeness toward Lu Yuan. This was the huge power of the clear air god seed, and this power had already begun to show. It was just that Lu Yuan was still ignorant, and thought that the clear air god seed only had those superficial effects. In fact, Lu Yuan had never comprehended the true power of the clear air god seed. However, in the end, luck was just luck. Although the current Lu Yuan did not attract the hostility of the world's will, it was only the world's will. Those who were strong were actually not affected much. The reason why Jiyu Yuana liked Lu Yuan, other than the influence of the clear air god seed's rule, was actually more because of Lu Yuan's personal charm. Among all the male soul masters in the Douluo continent, was there anyone more charming than Lu Yuan? The answer was naturally no. If the power of luck was so great that it could change a person's thoughts, Xiaowu wouldn't be hostile towards Lu Yuan because of Tang San's injury, and Dai Mubai wouldn't hate Lu Yuan to the bone. Therefore, there was definitely an influence, but the prerequisite was that that person had no hostility towards Lu Yuan. Hostility would be ineffective. After all, the clear air god seed was just a god seed, and Lu Yuan had not comprehended the power of rules to become a god. He was still not the god of rules. Right now, he was only a rank 46 soul ancestor. Chapter 266. In the arena, Zhu Zhuqing's figure flashed, and her sharp claws kept coming into contact with Dai Mubai's body, leaving wounds on his body. Even if a single claw attack couldn't break through Dai Mubai's defenses, a few claw attacks would be enough to injure Dai Mubai. With Zhu Zhuqing's speed, she could do this without being hit by Dai Mubai. It was said that soul masters could be countered by one another. For example, control-type soul masters countered assault-type soul masters, defense-type soul masters countered assault-type soul masters, while assault-type soul masters countered agility-type soul masters. However, this was only under normal circumstances, and not an absolute rule. Assault-type soul masters countered agility-type soul masters? That might not be the case. Haven't you heard that there's nothing that can't be overcome in martial arts? Speed is the only thing that can't be overcome. No matter what, speed was very important. When I'm faster than you, I'm the only one who can hit you, and you can't hit me. Agility-type soul masters were suppressed by assault-type soul masters purely because they weren't fast enough. To Dai Mubai, Zhu Zhuqing's speed was enough to suppress him. Raw, second soul skill, White Tiger's fierce light wave. Dai Mubai opened his mouth wide, and a white light wave was released from his mouth, which quickly shot towards Zhu Zhuqing. Zhu Zhuqing's figure flashed, and she dodged the White Tiger's fierce light wave. Dai Mubai turned around, and another light wave was formed in his mouth. It was as if it didn't cost money, and streaks of light waves were released from his mouth towards Zhu Zhuqing. Zhu Zhuqing's figure turned into an afterimage, and she relied on her unparalleled speed and reaction to completely dodge these light waves. In the arena, Dai Mubai stood in the center of the arena, and streaks of light waves swept across the arena. Zhu Zhuqing's figure was dodging and jumping around the arena. Although it seemed a little dangerous, Zhu Zhuqing managed to dodge every single light wave. Boss Yuan, the situation doesn't seem good. Sister-in-law Zhuqing seems to be in danger, Ma Hongjun said softly. Hearing this, Oscar and Ning Rongrong couldn't help but nod their heads. It seemed like Zhu Zhuqing was at a disadvantage. On the other hand, Xiao Wu blinked. She looked at Lu Yuan, who was still calm, and felt that things weren't as simple as they seemed. The one in danger is not Zhuqing, but Dai Mubai. Lu Yuan said indifferently, this White Tiger's fierce light wave can indeed cover almost the entire stage. However, it's not much of a threat to Zhuqing, who has astonishing speed. Even though this White Tiger's fierce light wave is like a cannon, and seems very powerful, it consumes a lot of soul power. Dai Mubai has already used his first and third soul skills. Now that he's unleashing such a large-scale White Tiger's fierce light wave, how long can his soul power last? The moment his soul force runs out, he will be defeated. Furthermore, Zhuqing's strength isn't as simple as it seems. There wasn't a trace of worry in Lu Yuan's eyes. Zhu Zhuqing had only used her first soul skill, the Netherworld Rush. Her second soul skill, the Netherworld Soul-Breaking Claw, came from the Netherworld Purple Civet, an extremely powerful soul beast. It had an extremely powerful armor-piercing ability, and its claws also had a dark corrosive ability. Dai Mubai's White Tiger's Vajra transformation and White Tiger's shield couldn't block it at all. Armor-piercing ability was one of the nemeses of defense-type soul skills. It was still fine when there was a huge gap in soul power. However, Zhu Zhuqing's soul power wasn't inferior to Dai Mubai's at all. Furthermore, her 9 lives lynx was much stronger than Dai Mubai's White Tiger. After all, one was a transcendent martial soul, while the other was a top-ranked martial soul. The gap between them wasn't ordinary. There was also Zhu Zhuqing's third soul skill, the Nether Shadow Doppelganger. Even Lu Yuan hadn't seen this soul skill before. Zhu Zhuqing's fighting style was completely different from Lu Yuan's. She used her speed to hang on to her opponent and torture them until they were exhausted before defeating them in one fell swoop. It was like a cat catching a mouse. The cat would torture the mouse until it was exhausted before it killed the mouse in one fell swoop. Lu Yuan, on the other hand, was different. Lu Yuan's fighting style was bold and straightforward. He fought head-on and did not give his opponent the slightest chance to breathe. He would completely defeat his opponent in a clean and straightforward manner. Therefore, Lu Yuan's fights usually lasted for a short period of time. Look, Zhuqing is about to start her real attack. The situation on the stage changed as Lu Yuan finished speaking. Zhu Zhuqing's eyes, which had turned a deep blue due to the possession of her martial soul, emitted a brilliant light. Immediately, her third thousand-year soul ring shone with a brilliant purple light. In an instant, Zhu Zhuqing's body split into 6 and surrounded Dai Mubai. Third soul skill, Nether Shadow Doppelganger. This soul skill could split into 5 doppelgangers. At the same time, each doppelganger had 60% of the original body's strength. Furthermore, the original body could switch between the doppelgangers. As long as the original body wasn't destroyed, even if the doppelgangers were destroyed, they could still recover. It could be said that it was a relatively powerful soul skill. Especially when it was paired with the second soul skill, the Nether Soul-Breaking Claw, which had the armor-piercing attribute. Its power was simply amazing. It really displayed the word agility type to its fullest. Agility type, agility type. The first was agility, and the second was offense. Zhu Zhuqing's 9 lives links had undoubtedly reached an extremely high level in both aspects. After all, every superb martial soul had its unique point. The 9 lives links' point was that it had the fastest reaction speed. While it was close to the limit, it also had an offensive ability that was superior to top-tier martial souls. It could be said that the 9 lives links was stronger than the White Tiger in terms of offensive ability, not to mention its extremely fast speed. Second soul skill, Nether Soul-Breaking Claw. The 6 doppelgangers attacked Dai Mubai with their sharp claws, leaving wounds on his body. The White Tiger's Vajra transformation and White Tiger's shield could block the Nether Spike, but it couldn't block the Nether Soul-Breaking Claw. This soul skill was specialized in breaking armor. Every claw was dripping with blood. Dai Mubai roared towards the sky in pain. Dai Mubai's fair and handsome face was covered in blood, making him look like a ferocious ghost. At this moment, Zhu Zhuqing didn't seem to have any intention of holding back. She was so ruthless that even Lu Yuan was a little shocked. Was this still the docile, proud, and kind-hearted kitten that he knew? What Lu Yuan did not know was that Zhu Zhuqing was actually venting the anger in her heart. How could you expect a woman who was angry to be able to hold back? This was almost impossible. Anyway, Zhu Zhuqing's heart was very happy now. Lu Yuan sighed in his heart as he looked at Dai Mubai's miserable appearance. He was beaten so badly that he might not be able to teach Dai Mubai a lesson later. What should he do? Lu Yuan revealed a smile at the corner of his mouth as he thought about it. He was actually very satisfied with Zhu Zhuqing's performance. Chapter 267. Zhu Zhuqing slapped Dai Mubai's face with her claws again. Dai Mubai was slammed into the arena, and he didn't move anymore. In this battle with Zhu Zhuqing, Dai Mubai suffered a crushing defeat. It could be said that Zhu Zhuqing was the strongest person in Shrek apart from Lu Yuan in terms of pure strength. Even Tang San wouldn't be Zhu Zhuqing's match if he didn't use those despicable hidden weapons. After all, the blue-silver grass was a trash martial soul, and even the blue-silver emperor was nothing in front of the 9 lives links. However, Tang San's hidden weapons were a little vicious. If they really fought, Zhu Zhuqing would be at a disadvantage as she wasn't prepared. Therefore, after today, Lu Yuan was prepared to teach some of the things he knew to Zhu Zhuqing. The most useful was naturally the Phoenix Dance's 6 illusions. It was definitely more helpful to Zhu Zhuqing than Hulena. In a sense, Zhu Zhuqing's Nether Shadow avatar was similar to the Phoenix Dance's 6 illusions. With the help of the Phoenix Dance's 6 illusions, perhaps Zhu Zhuqing's speed could be increased by another level. There was also the secret word, which could give Zhu Zhuqing more ability to protect herself. When he first taught Jiu Yuena, he might have been worried because she was too strong, and she was also a soul beast. To be honest, Lu Yuan was still a little afraid of her. However, Lu Yuan did not have the slightest misgivings about passing it to Zhu Zhuqing, Qian Renxue, and the others. After all, they were the closest people to him. If he wasn't still young, he would have eaten Chihiro Snow and Hulena. As for Zhu Zhuqing, yes, he would wait for another 2 years. After all, it wasn't good for her body to do it too early. Looking at Zhu Zhuqing in the arena, the corners of Lu Yuan's mouth curled up slightly, revealing a smile. It seemed that Zhu Zhuqing was now able to hold her own. Her combat awareness was quite mature. It seemed that after 2 years of experience, there was indeed a difference. He still remembered the time when Zhu Zhuqing could only lie in his arms and work hard to break through to rank 20 in the life ruins. But now, Zhu Zhuqing had the true demeanor of a soul warrior. Lu Yuan was really happy for her. Zhuqing. Lu Yuan muttered softly as he looked at Zhu Zhuqing. Wow, sister-in-law Zhuqing is so amazing. She actually won, and you won so beautifully. Ma Hongjuan's mouth was wide open as he stared at Dai Mubai, who had been beaten like a dead dog. His wife Zhuqing really was amazing. She was only 12 years old, but she had already become a soul exalt and had beaten Dai Mubai to such a state. She was indeed Boss Yuan's woman. She was indeed powerful. Although he wasn't as strong as Boss Yuan, who was a rank 39 soul exalt at the age of 11, he was still a true freak. No, he was a freak among freaks. As for Lu Yuan, he wasn't a freak, he was a freak. So amazing. Ning Rongrong's mouth was slightly agape. She had finally witnessed Zhu Zhuqing's true strength today, especially when Zhu Zhuqing used her third and second soul skills together. She was simply too terrifying. She had practically killed Dai Mubai in an instant. Her talent was far beyond hers. However, Ning Rongrong still didn't want to give up as she looked at Lu Yuan. Although you are strong, my 7 treasures glazed pagoda's auxiliary abilities are the best in the world. Furthermore, I have the entire 7 treasures glazed sect as my backing. I can definitely help Lu Yuan more than you, Zhu Zhuqing. We are a match made in heaven. Ning Rongrong's mind spun as she looked at Lu Yuan, who was like an immortal. This figure had been engraved in her heart for 2 years. After 2 years, he had become more and more outstanding, and more likable. Ning Rongrong told herself that she couldn't let this man go, because no one else in this world could compare to him. This is Zhu Zhuqing's true strength. Xiao Wu's face carried a trace of shock. Although she hated Dai Mubai, she had to admit that Dai Mubai's strength was very strong. Back then at the hotel, Tang San and Dai Mubai had fought. When Tang San did not use his hidden weapons, he was not Dai Mubai's opponent at all. However, Dai Mubai was defeated so miserably by Zhu Zhuqing. Didn't this mean that Tang San wasn't Zhu Zhuqing's match at all? If Tang San wasn't her match, wouldn't she be the same? Although Xiao Wu was carefree and liked to cause trouble, she wasn't a fool. She could tell the difference between the strong and the weak. Otherwise, why did Xiao Wu only stare at Lu Yuan and not dare to cause trouble when Lu Yuan severely injured Lu Yuan? Wasn't it because Lu Yuan was very strong? Xiao Wu and the others couldn't beat him at all. One had to know that Xiao Wu wasn't like this when she was in the Notting Academy. She would beat up anyone she didn't like. Wasn't it because no one in the Notting Academy was her match? Xiao Wu had a temper, but it depended on who she was dealing with. Lu Yuan wasn't Tang San and wouldn't spoil her. If she dared to cause trouble, Lu Yuan would definitely beat her up violently. Then, she would eat a spicy rabbit head to liven things up. The match is over. Contestant Civet wins. The host's voice rang out in the arena. Hearing this, Zhu Zhuqing withdrew her martial soul and walked down from the arena expressionlessly. It was as if defeating Dai Mubai was nothing to her. Dai Mubai struggled to stand up. His face was ashen. He was defeated so easily by Zhu Zhuqing. With his arrogance, he couldn't accept this at all. His eyes were filled with dejection. He was defeated so easily by Zhu Zhuqing, who was 3 years younger than him. He couldn't even beat Zhu Zhuqing, so how could he beat Lu Yuan, who was much stronger than Zhu Zhuqing? Dai Mubai only felt that his road ahead was really gloomy. With wounds and bloodstains all over his body, Dai Mubai walked out in a daze. The so-called evil-eyed white tiger was more or less crippled. Zhu Zhuqing walked all the way back to the lounge. When she saw Lu Yuan waiting for her, her cold eyes revealed a trace of gentleness. Well done, Zhuqing. Lu Yuan took 2 steps forward and gently rubbed Zhu Zhuqing's head. It had to be said that Zhu Zhuqing's strength had surpassed the limits of a soul elder and reached the level of a soul ancestor. Even against soul ancestors below rank 45, Zhu Zhuqing could at least maintain a stalemate. This was the strength of a superb martial soul. "Ian, I didn't disappoint you, did I?" Zhu Zhuqing's voice was calm, but it carried a trace of unconcealable expectation. She hoped to gain Lu Yuan's approval. "Of course not. You've always been my pride." As he spoke, his eyes faintly glanced at a certain part of Zhu Zhuqing's body. Zhu Zhuqing's charming face immediately turned red. One of her hands tightly grasped the corner of her clothes, while the other quietly climbed up to Lu Yuan's waist. Lu Yuan chuckled. Before Zhu Zhuqing could make a move, his large hand wrapped around Zhu Zhuqing's lily-white hand that was on his waist and pulled her to sit on the sofa at the side. Chapter 268. Zhu Zhuqing was pulled to sit down by Lu Yuan, but her eyes were still glaring at Lu Yuan fiercely. However, there were other people here, so Zhu Zhuqing couldn't flare up. She could only lower her head with a red face. "Sister-in-law Zhuqing, you're amazing. No wonder Boss Yuan likes you." Ma Hongjun smiled and gave her a thumbs up. He was now completely convinced by Zhu Zhuqing. She had beaten Dai Mubai up today, which made Ma Hongjuan's heart bloom with joy. "Dai Mubai, you're usually so arrogant. You even dared to seduce the girl I like. How is it? Now you've suffered, right? I should teach you a lesson like this." Hearing Ma Hongjuan's words, Zhu Zhuqing's face was still red, but she nodded gently. Her personality was cold, and Ma Hongjun didn't look like a decent person. Therefore, Zhu Zhuqing didn't like to talk to him. However, seeing that they were classmates, Zhu Zhuqing still nodded gently as a response. As for why her face was still red, it was because Ma Hongjun called her sister-in-law. He called Lu Yuan Boss Yuan and called her sister-in-law. Wasn't it obvious that she and Lu Yuan were a couple? Although that was indeed the case, Zhu Zhuqing was still a little shy in her heart. This was because she was born a little thin-skinned. Lu Yuan looked at Ma Hongjun approvingly. This fatty knew how to talk. He was quite interesting. Looking at Zhu Zhuqing's blushing face, Lu Yuan felt that it was quite interesting. This Tsunda kitten's shy look really had a different kind of charm. Lu Yuan was happy, but Ning Rongrong glared at Ma Hongjun fiercely. This damn fatty, he didn't know how to talk at all. However, when Lu Yuan's gaze swept over, Ning Rongrong's fierce gaze instantly disappeared, and she became gentle and elegant again. The speed at which she changed her expression was really shocking. Could it be that she had specially trained? Oscar, who was standing at the side, took in all the changes in Ning Rongrong's expression. A hint of sadness flashed across his eyes. At this moment, he had really given up and no longer had any other thoughts in his heart. "That's right. Lu Yuan is so outstanding and surpasses me in almost every aspect. Even my handsome face, which I'm so proud of, pales in comparison to Lu Yuan, let alone my temperament." Although Oscar was handsome, he definitely didn't have any temperament. On the contrary, he was a little wretched. Compared to Lu Yuan's immortal-like temperament, he paled in comparison. He did like Ning Rongrong very much, because this girl gave him a very special feeling. Unfortunately, his opponent was abnormally strong, and Lu Yuan did not even show any interest in Ning Rongrong. But so what? Ning Rongrong was still determined to pursue Lu Yuan. How could Oscar not notice it? Forget it, forget it. This Ning Rongrong doesn't seem like someone I can pursue. After all, she is the proud daughter of the Seven Treasures Glazed sect, and I'm just an ordinary food-type soul grandmaster. Although I have some talent, how can I compare to the genius Lu Yuan? Oscar only had admiration for Lu Yuan. He was really a monstrous existence, and he could only look up to him. When someone was only slightly stronger than you might be jealous. But if this person was far stronger than you, then you would only have respect in your heart. That was how Oscar was now. Boss Yuan, sister-in-law Zhuqing made a mistake just now. Why don't you go up and play too? Hehe, let us broaden our horizons. Ma Hongjun giggled. He now felt that following Lu Yuan was really great. Not only could he often freeload food and teach Dai Mubai a lesson for him, but he was also so strong and never bullied him. Instead, he was very good to him and Oscar. Therefore, Ma Hongjun was very close to his boss, Lu Yuan. What should he say about someone like Ma Hongjun? Although he was lecherous and a little perverted, he was very loyal. Whoever was good to him, he would be good to them. In the original story, Tang San's coxcomb phoenix sunflower allowed Ma Hongjun to break free from the evil fire's control and purify his fire phoenix martial soul. From then on, Ma Hongjun followed Tang San's lead. If Tang San could do it, Lu Yuan could do it too. Although he had been targeting Tang San and Dai Mubai, he wasn't a bloodthirsty person. Otherwise, wouldn't everything be fine if he just destroyed Shrek and killed Tang San and Dai Mubai? Lu Yuan would naturally rope in people who could be roped in. For example, Oscar and Ma Hongjun. For example, Tang San and Dai Mubai were destined to be enemies because of their opposing sides. There was no turning back. For example, Oscar and Ma Hongjun, they were both commoner soul masters. Speaking of which, they even enjoyed the preferential treatment of the martial soul palace. For such soul masters, they were completely suitable to be roped in. Therefore, Lu Yuan treated them very well over the past year. Their relationship with Lu Yuan was much better than with Dai Mubai. To be honest, it was very difficult for a good-for-nothing like Dai Mubai to find true friends. Although Lu Yuan could be arrogant at times, he was never arrogant for no reason. His arrogance always had a purpose. Usually, as long as you didn't provoke him, Lu Yuan's expression was calm, but it was still relatively easy to get along with him. He wouldn't belittle anyone. To be precise, Lu Yuan wasn't arrogant, but proud. After hearing Ma Hongjuan's words, Lu Yuan nodded and asked Zhu Zhuqing, "Zhuqing, do you want to see my true strength?" True strength. Zhu Zhuqing blinked her beautiful eyes, and asked, "Lu Yuan, how strong are you now?" Lu Yuan's strength had always been a mystery. Even more than 2 years ago, Zhu Zhuqing didn't completely figure out Lu Yuan's strength. She only knew that Lu Yuan alone eliminated all the young soul masters who entered the ruins. This strength was definitely not ordinary, at least the fighting strength of a soul king. And now Lu Yuan was already rank 46, higher than rank 17, so how much had his strength soared? To be honest, Zhu Zhuqing's heart was full of curiosity. How strong? I'm sure you'll be surprised. Lu Yuan tapped Zhu Zhuqing's nose and said with a smile. At this moment, the door of the lounge was suddenly pushed open, and a middle-aged man in a black uniform walked in. "Hello, Mr. Huang Long, I am the deacon of the Great Soul Arena, Zhu Yuan. Sorry to disturb you." The middle-aged man in black said. "Deacon of the Great Soul Arena, what can I do for you?" Lu Yuan asked. Lu Yuan wasn't surprised that Zhu Yuan knew him. After all, although he sometimes wore a mask on the stage, it could only deceive the audience and ordinary waiters. For the Great Soul Arena, it was extremely difficult to hide his identity. Lu Yuan didn't deliberately hide his whereabouts, so it wasn't surprising that he was recognized. It's like this: there is a distinguished guest who wants to challenge you. This is his challenge letter, asking you to have a duel in the central Great Soul Arena. The time is tomorrow night, Zhu Yuan said. How strong is he? Lu Yuan didn't refuse. Instead, he was curious about this person's strength. If he was strong, it wasn't impossible to fight. Chapter 269. This VIP is a Soul King, Zhu Yuan said. Soul King? I'm not interested. Lu Yuan shook his head. He originally thought that it would be an expert above the Soul Emperor level, and he was a little expectant. After all, he was still very famous in the Great Soul Arena in Soto City. Anyone who dared to challenge him must have some skill, but he didn't expect it to be just a Soul King. What was a Soul King? For the current Lu Yuan, defeating a Soul King was no different from playing. After the fight, he just warmed up. A Soul King dared to challenge him? Did he really think that his previous record was a joke? It seemed that it was another arrogant person. Lu Yuan lost interest and decisively rejected Zhu Yuan's invitation. Soul King. Deacon Zhu, you have seen my boss Yuan's battle. He has even defeated a bunch of Soul Emperors. Aren't you looking down on our boss Yuan too much by arranging a Soul King for him? Hearing Zhu Yuan's words, Ma Hongjun immediately said. Among them, the one who knew Lu Yuan's strength the best was not Zhu Zhuqing, but Ma Hongjun, because he had seen Lu Yuan defeat 2 Soul Emperors by himself. Otherwise, Ma Hongjun wouldn't have called him Boss Yuan so naturally. He was also a monster from Shrek Academy. How could he be subdued if he didn't have some ability? It was precisely because Ma Hongjun knew about Lu Yuan's feat of defeating 2 Soul Emperors by himself that he admired Lu Yuan so much. After all, in the Douluo continent, strength was respected. Especially among Soul Masters, strength was the most powerful support. Otherwise, what was the use of just relying on words? Defeated a Soul Emperor? When these words came out, Ning Rongrong and Xiao Wu were shocked at the same time. Even in the entire continent, Soul Emperors were considered to be in the upper middle class of Soul Masters. Each of them was strong and had a lot of fame, but Lu Yuan had defeated more than one. The splendor in Ning Rongrong's eyes became even more intense. She had made up her mind that she must pursue this man, not only for herself, but also for the 7 Treasures Glazed sect. If she had Lu Yuan's support, the 7 Treasures Glazed sect would definitely be able to shine brightly on the continent in the future. Xiao Wu's mouth was wide open. Her scorpion braids were scattered across her shoulders. No wonder she and her third brother had been defeated so miserably. In the end, they hadn't even been able to force out Lu Yuan's martial soul. This Lu Yuan was actually a powerhouse that could defeat a Soul Emperor. Their defeat wasn't unjust. Oscar wasn't too surprised, because he had witnessed the battle between Lu Yuan and Zhao Wuji when he first entered the academy. It was also very exciting, and Lu Yuan's final attack had even forced Zhao Wuji to use his 6th soul skill. It was reasonable for him to be able to defeat a Soul Emperor. Zhu Zhuqing blinked. Defeat the Soul Emperor? She always felt that this wasn't Lu Yuan's true strength. She was the closest to Lu Yuan, and the man beside her was mysterious beyond imagination. He always had his own trump cards. For example, Zhu Zhuqing knew about the Clear Air Divine Seed and Polychoria. The Life Spirit Crystal was a peerless treasure. It had allowed her and Helena's martial souls to undergo a huge evolution. It had also increased their soul power. At the same time, it had also improved her physique and increased her cultivation speed. Moreover, it had also helped her recover quickly every time she was injured. These were all the effects of the Life Spirit Crystal. Lu Yuan had directly put the Life Spirit Crystal aside and chose the Clear Air Divine Seed. If the Life Spirit Crystal was so powerful, then what about the Clear Air Divine Seed? It would only help Lu Yuan even more. There was also the Polychoria. This mysterious and peerless second martial soul that couldn't be supplemented with soul rings was also abnormally mysterious. Zhu Zhuqing was sure that everyone in Shrek Academy would think that Lu Yuan's Polychoria was just a little strange. They wouldn't guess that the Polychoria itself had the power to destroy the heavens and earth. According to Zhu Zhuqing's understanding of Lu Yuan, if Lu Yuan's full strength were to erupt, he definitely wouldn't be an ordinary Soul Emperor. He would definitely be at an even higher level. It had to be said that Lu Yuan understood Zhu Zhuqing, and Zhu Zhuqing also understood Lu Yuan. She already loved Lu Yuan to death, so how could she not analyze Lu Yuan? Especially when she was separated from Lu Yuan, she missed Lu Yuan even more. After a long time, Zhu Zhuqing was naturally able to figure out some things. Mr. Huang Long, please don't be in a hurry to refuse. This honored guest is not an ordinary Soul King, Zhu Yuan said. Oh. Lu Yuan's expression was indifferent. Not an ordinary Soul King? He wasn't even interested in a second-rate Soul King. To him, a Soul King was a Soul King. No matter how special they were, they could be dealt with in a few punches and kicks. But that was impossible. She was still far from here. If it was someone at her level, Lu Yuan would still be interested. However, it would be difficult to find a second genius like her on the continent. This honored guest has a letter for you. He said that as long as you read this letter, you will definitely accept his challenge. As Zhu Yuan spoke, he took out a golden envelope and handed it to Lu Yuan. Is that so? Lu Yuan said indifferently as he received the letter. The golden envelope's design was very exquisite. It gave off a luxurious feeling, and it still had some style. Lu Yuan opened the envelope. There was no letter inside. Instead, there was only a pure white feather. This feather was white without the slightest impurity. It was very pure, and there was a faint golden light pervading it. Seeing this feather, Lu Yuan's indifferent expression was suddenly broken. His eyes flashed with unprecedented brilliance. Where is that person? I want to see her. That honored guest said that he is not seeing any guests now. If Mr. Huang Long wants to see him, come to the Central Great Soul Arena at 6 o'clock sharp tomorrow night. He will be waiting for you there, Zhu Yuan said. Hearing this, Lu Yuan took a light breath, and his expression became indifferent again. Okay, I got it. The letter has been delivered, then I will take my leave first, Zhu Yuan said. Deacon Zhu, take care, Lu Yuan said indifferently. Zhu Yuan's figure left the lounge. Cher, is that you? Holding the white feather in his hand and feeling the faint sacred aura on it, his heart was full of longing. Immediately, a wry smile appeared on his face. It seems that Cher is angry again. It's all my fault. I haven't visited her for 2 years. When I left Heaven Do Imperial City, I said that I would visit her when I had time. In the end, it's been 2 years and I haven't visited her. Cher must be very angry in her heart. She thinks that I don't care about her anymore, so she is throwing a tantrum with me, Lu Yuan secretly thought in his heart. Who knew that he would stay in the Great Stardow Forest for as long as a year? After coming to Shrek, he was busy training his physique. In the past 2 years, he had devoted all his time to cultivation and neglected Cher. Of course, there was also his senior sister. Perhaps, his senior sister was still waiting for him in Martial Spirit City. Chapter 270. Among all of his women, Helena was the one who asked for the least. She poured all of her love into Lu Yuan without any reservation. Chihiro Snow was pursued by Lu Yuan. For her, Lu Yuan set up the Heavenly Dipper, swept away all threats for her, and stabilized her position as the crown prince. It could be said that Lu Yuan had taken the initiative to help Zhu Zhuqing. He had saved Zhu Zhuqing's life and had fed her every day. When Zhu Zhuqing was training in the continent, he had even mobilized the power of the entire continent's martial spirit branch hall to protect her. Even though she could only be considered half a soul now, Lu Yuan promised to take on the responsibility of a soul beast and find a way out for soul beasts. Then what about Helena? What did Lu Yuan do for Helena? Could a mere set of the Phoenix Dance 6 illusions and a piece of Dream Demon Fox's skull compare to Helena's feelings for him? Impossible. Far from it. Helena only asked for Lu Yuan's company. Thinking back to when they were separated for only 20 days in the ruins, Helena was already obsessed with Lu Yuan, let alone now that 2 years had passed. Lu Yuan suddenly had a feeling that he didn't dare to face Helena. Originally, he had too many considerations in his heart, such as increasing his strength and plotting against Tang San, so he didn't think about these things. But today, Chihiro Snow's letter evoked Lu Yuan's hidden memories. Indeed, he had stayed in Shrek for long enough. There wasn't much meaning in staying any longer. He wanted to go back and see his senior sister who loved him to the bone. This was the woman Lu Yuan owed the most. But the most important thing right now is still Cher. I'd better get through this first. Who knows, Cher might be thinking about how to teach me a lesson right now. Lu Yuan smiled wryly. Among his women, Chihiro Snow was undoubtedly the boldest and strongest. Helena and Zhu Zhuqing couldn't control him. On the contrary, if he just put on a stern face, the 2 girls would be shocked. However, Chihiro Snow was different. When facing Chihiro Snow, Lu Yuan was still somewhat afraid. Chihiro Snow might be the only person in the world who could control Lu Yuan. After all, With Lu Yuan's lawless character, sooner or later, even Bibidon wouldn't be able to control him. Naturally, Jiu Yuana wouldn't be able to do anything because a gold dragon would never submit to a silver dragon. However, Chihiro Snow was special. Because she was the first person to walk into Lu Yuan's heart. Lu Yuan loved her the most. It was because of this love and this respect that Chihiro Snow's position in Lu Yuan's heart was unique. Chihiro Snow was the official wife. This was unshakable, whether it was Hulena or Jiu Yuana. It was also because of this reason that Lu Yuan always felt guilty when facing Chihiro Snow. After all, she was originally the only one in his heart. In the end, a few more people came in. Lu Yuan naturally felt that he had let Chihiro Snow down. This time, Chihiro Snow challenged him to a fair and square opportunity to teach him a lesson so that she could vent her anger. Who told Lu Yuan not to visit her for 2 years? After all, although Chihiro Snow was valiant and had a big belly, she was a woman after all. A woman would yearn for love. She yearned for the person she loved to spend more time with her. Chihiro Snow was naturally no exception. She wanted to vent her anger in this way, and at the same time, let Lu Yuan react and accompany her more in the future. Chihiro Snow was arrogant. It was naturally impossible for her to say such words directly. Unlike Hulena, who said that she missed Lu Yuan and directly said it in front of Lu Yuan, she would use her actions to tell Lu Yuan what she meant. As for whether Lu Yuan could understand, Chihiro Snow was never worried that Lu Yuan, with his monstrous IQ, wouldn't be able to see it, unless Lu Yuan was pretending to be stupid. Lu Yuan's thoughts turned. He held the letter for a long time without saying a word. Lu Yuan. Zhu Zhuqing gently pushed Lu Yuan. She had never seen Lu Yuan have such a big reaction. What does this letter mean? A feather. What can it mean? Zhu Zhuqing looked at Lu Yuan in confusion. After being pushed by Zhu Zhuqing, Lu Yuan suddenly came back to his senses. Nothing. It's just an old friend. This feather is her keepsake. Lu Yuan rubbed Zhu Zhuqing's head and smiled. Chihiro Snow's identity was top secret. Zhu Zhuqing could naturally be trusted, but others couldn't. Lu Yuan naturally couldn't talk about her here. He would find an opportunity to talk to Zhu Zhuqing when he returned. Old friend? Ma Hongjun asked with some confusion. Boss Yuan, could it be that your old friend can still fight with you? He was very clear about Lu Yuan's strength. It was terrifying. However, Boss Yuan's old friend dared to challenge him. Could it be that her strength was not much worse than Boss Yuan's? Yes, she is very strong. If there is anyone in the younger generation who is qualified to be my opponent, it must be her. Speaking of Chihiro Snow, Lu Yuan's mouth showed a gentle smile. Hiss. Ma Hongjun was shocked. There was someone in the younger generation who could fight with Boss Yuan. That was amazing. Ning Rongrong looked at the gentle smile on Lu Yuan's mouth, but there was a faint suspicion in her heart. She always felt that the relationship between this old friend and Lu Yuan was not simple. After all, Lu Yuan had always been calm. This time, his expression changed so much. Except for the first time when he met Zhu Zhuqing, this was the second time Ning Rongrong saw Lu Yuan's expression change so much. Could it be that this so-called old friend was a woman? Thinking of this, Ning Rongrong was shocked. She looked at Lu Yuan with eyes full of hidden bitterness. If it was really a woman, then the relationship between this woman and Lu Yuan might not be simple. Maybe it was a relationship like Zhu Zhuqing's. If Lu Yuan really has 2 girlfriends, then he shouldn't mind having one more. Then why is he still so cold to me? Also, does Zhu Zhuqing know about this matter? It had to be said that sometimes, a woman's intuition was really accurate. It was just a slight change in Lu Yuan's expression, and Ning Rongrong had already guessed so much. She was really amazing. Let's go. Lu Yuan put the feather back into the envelope and put it in the astral ring. He took Zhu Zhuqing's hand and walked out. With Chihiro Snow's letter, he had long lost interest in the soul battle. It was better to go back first. Moreover, he still had to tell Zhu Zhuqing about Cher. Zhu Zhuqing had lowered her head and was silent now. She was waiting for Lu Yuan to take the initiative to reveal it to her. After all, if Ning Rongrong could think of something, Zhu Zhuqing could, especially when Zhu Zhuqing's understanding of Lu Yuan was much deeper than Ning Rongrong's. She even thought that it might be inconvenient for Lu Yuan to reveal Qian Runshue's identity here. There must be something that he could not say. That was why he remained silent. She believed that Lu Yuan would tell her voluntarily. This was the trust she had for Lu Yuan all this time. Chapter 271. Holding Zhu Zhuqing's little hand, Lu Yuan led the way in front. Ning Rongrong followed closely behind, looking at Lu Yuan with a pair of beautiful big eyes. She felt that if Lu Yuan really had other women besides Zhu Zhuqing, then it might not be so difficult for her to pursue Lu Yuan. After all, if he could accept the second, he would definitely be able to accept the third. But what she didn't know was that Lu Yuan had already accepted almost 4 women. In his heart, he felt that it was really enough, so the possibility of Ning Rongrong was really not big. Because if he really provoked Ning Rongrong, Lu Yuan was really worried that his harem would be on fire. After all, he had promised them that it would only be the 3 of them. Jiyu Yuana wasn't human, so she could still quibble, but if it was Ning Rongrong, she wouldn't even have a chance to quibble. Although Ning Rongrong was beautiful, her temper and figure weren't the type that Lu Yuan liked. Moreover, Lu Yuan preferred mature women. Ning Rongrong was still a little immature. After all, she had been spoiled since she was a child. She wasn't like Zhu Zhuqing, who had been persecuted since she was a child. She knew the cruelty of reality, so she matured very quickly. Moreover, her personality was good, and she got along well with Lu Yuan. Of course, the most important thing was that she had a good figure. Cough cough. As for the others, for example, Chihiro Snow, her appearance was definitely the best among the current human women. Her figure was perfect, and her temperament was holy and pure. At first glance, she could arouse the desire of men to conquer her. Another example was Helena. Although her appearance was a little inferior to Chihiro Snow, she was still the most beautiful of all. In addition, she was naturally charming and seductive. Moreover, her personality was very good, and she was obedient to Lu Yuan. How could Lu Yuan not like such a senior sister? Finally, there was Jiyu Yuana. Out of all the women that Lu Yuan had seen in his life, perhaps even in the entire Douluo continent, Jiyu Yuana could be considered the #1 beauty. Her looks and aura were flawless, and her personality was also very good. She was very pure, and even a little silly. She could be said to have boundless charm, and was truly devastatingly beautiful. Even Chihiro Snow was somewhat inferior to Jiyu Yuana in terms of appearance, but in terms of temperament, Chihiro Snow was still slightly inferior to Jiyu Yuana. Unless Chihiro Snow became a god in the future, he might be able to compete with Jiyu Yuana as an equal. Compared to them, Ning Rongrong was still lacking. Because she had not fully grown up yet, she was more like a girl than a woman. Lu Yuan naturally had no interest in her. After they returned to Shrek Academy, Lu Yuan parted ways with Oscar and the others. He brought Zhu Zhuqing back to their small wooden hut. Zhuqing, let's go to your wooden house. I think you want to hear what I have to say. Looking at Zhu Zhuqing's cold little face, Lu Yuan could not help but reach out and caress it. His voice was very gentle. Okay. Zhu Zhuqing replied softly. After pushing open the door of the wooden hut, the 2 of them sat on Zhu Zhuqing's bed. Lu Yuan waved his sleeve, and the door of the wooden hut closed naturally. Lu Yuan gently hugged Zhu Zhuqing's waist, and couldn't help but rub his face against Zhu Zhuqing's head. The rustling sensation had a faint warmth to it. Today's letter was from Cher. That feather was from her. Lu Yuan said softly. Is that the Chihiro Snow you mentioned before? Zhu Zhuqing asked softly. Yes. Lu Yuan nodded gently and said, speaking of which, not only have I been separated from you for more than 2 years, but I also haven't seen Cher and senior sister for 2 years. Is that so? Zhu Zhuqing said softly. You also know what I've been doing for the past 2 years. I've focused on improving my cultivation and neglected them. I think Cher is here to see me this time. Of course, before seeing me, she will definitely teach me a lesson, Lu Yuan said with a bitter smile. This was Chihiro Snow's temper. Coaxing Chihiro Snow was much harder than coaxing Zhu Zhuqing and Hulena. Chihiro Snow was not only arrogant, but also tsundere. Zhu Zhuqing was also tsundere, but Zhu Zhuqing was a little tsundere. Chihiro Snow was really tsundere to a certain extent. He obviously liked her, but he refused to admit it. He obviously missed her to death, but he refused to say it and insisted on challenging her. Thinking of this, Lu Yuan's expression was somewhat helpless. Serves you right. Zhu Zhuqing muttered softly. Huh. Lu Yuan raised his voice, his eyes roaming Zhu Zhuqing's body. Little kitty, what did you just say? Humph, you only know how to bully me. Zhu Zhuqing snorted and turned her head away. Oh. Lu Yuan was amused. He just said that Chihiro Snow was tsundere, and in the blink of an eye, this little kitty also gave him one. Lu Yuan put his right hand on Zhu Zhuqing's chin and turned her head back. He looked at Zhu Zhuqing with interest. Little kitty, who asked you to be so beautiful? When I see you, I want to bully you. What do you think I should do? Lu Yuan slowly approached Zhu Zhuqing. His breath hit Zhu Zhuqing's face. Zhu Zhuqing's originally cold face turned red again. They had been close several times, but Zhu Zhuqing still blushed. It had to be said that Zhu Zhuqing's shy temperament had not changed. Kissing Zhu Zhuqing's red lips, Lu Yuan's hand began to move up and down. Finally, he touched something sensitive. Zhu Zhuqing's delicate body went soft, and she collapsed in Lu Yuan's arms. Lecture, big baddie. Zhu Zhuqing scolded weakly. Lu Yuan's hand seemed to have some kind of magic. With just a gentle move, her body felt as if it had lost its bones. Her whole body was sore and weak. Hehe, women don't like good men. Lu Yuan said, and once again blocked Zhu Zhuqing's red lips. It was late at night, and a man and a woman were alone. In addition, Lu Yuan's bloodline was a little impulsive. At this moment, Lu Yuan hugged Zhu Zhuqing, and he was a little confused. However, Lu Yuan had strong self-control. Moreover, Zhu Zhuqing was not Chihiro Snow and the others. She was still young, and it was not the time for her to do that kind of thing. Lu Yuan loved her. Naturally, he would not do anything harmful to her body because of his desire. Slowly stopping his hand, Lu Yuan hugged Zhu Zhuqing's waist, and still kissed Zhu Zhuqing's lips. Seeing Lu Yuan stop, Zhu Zhuqing's eyes showed a trace of emotion. She no longer cared about her shyness, and passionately responded to Lu Yuan's request. Slowly letting go of Zhu Zhuqing's lips, Lu Yuan gently pressed against Zhu Zhuqing's forehead. The tip of his nose touched Zhu Zhuqing's jade nose. The distance between the two was very close. Don't leave tonight, Zhu Zhuqing said softly. Listening to Zhu Zhuqing's words, Lu Yuan opened his eyes wide. He looked at Zhu Zhuqing in disbelief. Was this still his shy little kitten? This was very similar to what his bold senior sister would say. Looking at Lu Yuan's surprised expression, although Zhu Zhuqing was a little embarrassed, she still said in a mosquito-like voice, "We haven't slept together for a long time. I want to experience the feeling of falling asleep in your arms again." Okay. Lu Yuan smiled, and then his tone became a little frivolous. Just right, let me see how much you've grown. Hearing this, Zhu Zhuqing's face instantly turned red. Chapter 272. In the simple wooden hut, a faint ray of sunlight shone in. Lu Yuan opened his eyes, and a light flickered in his pupils. Feeling the softness in his embrace, Lu Yuan's lips curled up slightly. Looking at Zhu Zhuqing's sleeping face in his arms, her white jade-like face no longer had its usual coldness. Only the calmness of a cat was left. Her whole body was curled up in his arms, and her arms were tightly wrapped around his waist. That proud fullness pressed down on his body, bringing an unparalleled pressure. It had to be said that Zhu Zhuqing's figure was really great. Gently tucking Zhu Zhuqing's scattered hair behind her ears, Lu Yuan carefully looked at the quiet sleeping face of this little kitten. Those long eyelashes and delicate skin were really charming. Looking at her, Lu Yuan gently kissed Zhu Zhuqing's forehead. As if feeling Lu Yuan's kiss, Zhu Zhuqing slowly opened her eyes. Her pitch-black eyes looked at Lu Yuan in front of her, full of gentleness. "Sorry, did I wake you up?" Looking at Zhu Zhuqing's charming face, Lu Yuan smiled slightly. "No, I slept very comfortably. I haven't slept so peacefully in a long time." Zhu Zhuqing gently shook her head. Leaning in Lu Yuan's arms, there was an unprecedented peace of mind. Leaning on him, Zhu Zhuqing's whole body relaxed, and she quickly fell asleep. Hearing Zhu Zhuqing's words, Lu Yuan's lips curled up into a smile. His gentle eyes looked at Zhu Zhuqing with a trace of affection. Zhu Zhuqing enjoyed Lu Yuan's gaze very much. She summoned the courage to kiss Lu Yuan's lips. Looking at Lu Yuan's somewhat surprised expression, Zhu Zhuqing's charming face revealed a rare trace of a smile, and said, "If you want to kiss me, you don't have to do it secretly." "Is that so?" It was rare to see a little kitten so bold. Lu Yuan gently lowered his head, sealed Zhu Zhuqing's red lips, and asked again. Looking at Zhu Zhuqing's blushing face, Lu Yuan smiled with satisfaction. Zhu Zhuqing gave Lu Yuan a reproachful look, but buried her head deeper into Lu Yuan's chest. Lu Yuan gently stroked Zhu Zhuqing's long hair and looked at the dazzling sunlight outside. He smiled and said, "Kitty, wake up. The sun is shining on your butt." The two of them slept very well, and ended up sleeping until this time. It was already time for class, even though there weren't many classes in Shrek Academy. They had nothing to teach Lu Yuan. After thinking for a moment, Lu Yuan asked Zhu Zhuqing, "Zhuqing, what do you think of Shrek Academy? How is it?" Zhu Zhuqing muttered to herself and said, "The talent of the students is not bad, but the facilities of this academy are too simple and crude. Furthermore, I haven't seen the teaching ability of the teachers. However, looking at the appearance of the dean, he doesn't seem to be from a professional academy. Among all the academies I've seen, it doesn't seem to be the best. It's just that the conditions for enrollment are rather strict." This kind of school doesn't have any teaching conditions or facilities, yet they only recruit geniuses. It's a little incomprehensible. Hearing this, Lu Yuan gently nodded. The current Zhu Zhuqing wasn't the original Zhu Zhuqing. She had been on the continent for more than 2 years, and her horizons were broader and she was more mature. The truth was just as Zhu Zhuqing had said. Apart from the fact that Shrek Academy's enrollment conditions were notoriously strict, there were almost no other redeeming qualities. The teaching ability of the teachers wasn't very professional either. At the very least, they didn't form a professional system. Even the teachers were unorthodox. To put it bluntly, in the aspect of martial souls, they didn't know as much as Lu Yuan. After a period of time, I'll be leaving Shrek Academy. Zhuqing, will you leave with me? Lu Yuan asked. I'm here to look for you. Naturally, I'll go wherever you go. Although Zhu Zhuqing's tone was soft, it was very firm. In her heart, since she was already following Lu Yuan, she would follow whatever Lu Yuan did. Even if she had to die 9 times, she wouldn't regret it. Good, Zhuqing. Lu Yuan smiled gently and caressed Zhu Zhuqing's smooth face with his right hand. He smiled and said, let's get up then. After eating, I'll teach you a movement technique. It should be helpful for your speed. Is it the Phoenix Dance's 6 illusions? Zhu Zhuqing asked softly. Yes. Lu Yuan nodded and said, it is the Phoenix Dance's 6 illusions. You've seen this movement technique before. It's very exquisite. Don't be fooled by your martial soul, the 9 lives links. In terms of speed, I might be faster than you. It seemed like she couldn't compare to Lu Yuan in what she was best at. Zhu Zhuqing wrinkled her nose slightly and snorted. It was indeed a great honor to have a powerful man, but Lu Yuan was too much of a monster. Zhu Zhuqing used to feel inferior when she was with him. Although it was better now, Zhu Zhuqing still felt that it was difficult for her to keep up with Lu Yuan's pace. Why was this guy so demonic? Lu Yuan didn't mind when he heard Zhu Zhuqing's snort. It was normal for this little kitten to be a little tsunder. Lu Yuan pinched Zhu Zhuqing's nose gently and climbed off the bed. His perfect figure exuded a strong masculine aura. He was very charming, and Zhu Zhuqing blushed. Lu Yuan chuckled and said, "You touched and saw me last night. Why are you still shy now? Look at me. I'm not shy at all when I see your body. You're still talking." Zhu Zhuqing snorted proudly. Her face was red. "Lecher, do you think everyone is as thick-skinned as you? Okay, I'll stop talking." Lu Yuan smiled slightly. He knew that the joke was almost over, so he stopped. After all, Zhu Zhuqing's skin was very thin. If he continued, she would be angry. Lu Yuan took the clothes that were put aside and put them on. Although Zhu Zhuqing's face was red, her eyes were still looking at Lu Yuan without blinking. Lu Yuan took in her expression without missing anything. After putting on the white clothes outside, Lu Yuan regained his immortal-like temperament in the blink of an eye. However, after putting on the clothes, Lu Yuan didn't go out. Instead, he looked at Zhu Zhuqing with a mischievous face. Zhu Zhuqing wrapped the quilt around her delicate body and said, "Why aren't you going out?" "I'm going to put on my clothes." "Yes, I want to see you put on your clothes. It must be very interesting." Lu Yuan revealed a mischievous smile. When he measured Zhu Zhuqing's size last night, he removed all the restraints, so now Zhu Zhuqing was really a little white sheep. "You." Hearing Lu Yuan's words, Zhu Zhuqing was angry and amused. This man was sometimes strong and overbearing, but sometimes he was like a rascal. It really made people unable to do anything to him. Chapter 273. Lu Yuan eventually walked out of the wooden hut and left Zhu Zhuqing alone to put on her clothes. He knew that Zhu Zhuqing was very thin-skinned, and he couldn't go overboard with his teasing. He could just joke around, but since Zhu Zhuqing wasn't willing, he wouldn't do such a thing. However, compared to Zhu Zhuqing, Helena was the other extreme. If it had been Helena earlier, she wouldn't have minded Lu Yuan watching her change her clothes. Instead, she would have purposely acted seductively to seduce Lu Yuan. This little vixen had really thought of ways to devour Lu Yuan. If not for Lu Yuan's strong self-control, he might not have been able to resist Helena's charms. Creak. The wooden door was pushed open, and Zhu Zhuqing walked out. "You're done." Lu Yuan's eyes brightened when he saw Zhu Zhuqing, who was dressed properly. Zhu Zhuqing seemed to be exceptionally beautiful today. Zhu Zhuqing had a head of beautiful long black hair that fell straight to her waist. These 3 words were really the most suitable description for Zhu Zhuqing. Coupled with Zhu Zhuqing's soft and boneless waist, her cold and calm little face, and her incomparably imposing chest, the sexiness under her cold and elegant appearance really made one's blood boil uncontrollably. Lu Yuan's eyes sparkled. Zhu Zhuqing was indeed one of the top beauties, and her seductiveness wasn't inferior to Helena's. However, Lu Yuan was Lu Yuan after all. He had great self-control. Furthermore, he had seen many of the top beauties in the Douluo continent. Jiyu Yuena was the top beauty in the Douluo series. Chihiro Snow was the top beauty in the Douluo continent right now. Perhaps she could be called the top beauty in the entire Douluo continent after she became a god. Lu Yuan had seen these 2 goddesses many times, and had even interacted with them intimately. His standards were already very high. Holding Zhu Zhuqing's hand, Lu Yuan brought her to Soto City for breakfast. As the food in Shrek's canteen was really terrible, they didn't stay in Soto City after breakfast. Instead, they went straight back to Shrek Academy. Lu Yuan rarely attended classes. He was very special in Shrek Academy. In any case, Flender and Zhao Wuji had never interfered with Lu Yuan. How he cultivated was his own business. Therefore, Lu Yuan was relatively free. There was a large empty space in front of their wooden hut. Lu Yuan looked at Zhu Zhuqing in front of him with a serious expression. This was Lu Yuan's character. He was usually calm and gentle. However, when it came to serious matters, he would have such a serious expression. In order to force Helena to practice the Phoenix Dance's 6 illusions, Lu Yuan personally supervised her for a month. As long as she was lazy, it would be a snap of his fingers. Furthermore, in order to train Helena's body, he even came up with the idea of making Helena carry a rock to practice the Phoenix Dance's 6 illusions. One could imagine how meticulous he was when it came to training. During that period of time, Helena was basically being lectured by Lu Yuan during the day. Then, at night, Helena would crazily complain about Lu Yuan's evil deeds. After complaining, she would lie in Lu Yuan's arms and refuse to get up. Over these 2 years, Lu Yuan couldn't help but smile when he thought about this occasionally. The key to the Phoenix Dance's 6 illusions lies in the word illusion. Lu Yuan said indifferently, the most powerful part of the Phoenix Dance's 6 illusions is that it can split into 6 figures at an extremely fast speed. Each of the 6 figures can attack, and each of them is no different from the original body. The Phoenix Dance's 6 illusions has the most perfect defense. At the same time, hidden in the extreme beauty is the most fatal killing intent. Looking at Zhu Zhuqing in front of him, Lu Yuan spoke frankly with assurance. Among his women, Zhu Zhuqing was the most suitable to practice the Phoenix Dance's 6 illusions. Zhu Zhuqing's nether shadow doppelganger was already very powerful. If she could integrate the profound meaning of the Phoenix Dance's 6 illusions, then Lu Yuan wouldn't have the slightest worry for Zhu Zhuqing. She would become a true prodigy among agility-type soul masters. It was said that control-type soul masters restrained agility-type soul masters. In fact, Lu Yuan still wanted to say that there was no such thing as absolute restraint. As long as one's strength was strong enough and could display one's advantages to the extreme, then even if one was restrained, one would still be able to win. Zhu Zhuqing was undoubtedly a very serious student. As Lu Yuan spoke, she seriously memorized at the side. Her learning attitude was much better than Helena's. Helena was the most enthusiastic about increasing her spiritual power, and what she hated the most was physique-type training. Every time Lu Yuan trained her, she would act coquettishly and complain. Although it was useless to Lu Yuan, she still didn't get tired of it. However, Zhu Zhuqing wasn't like that. As long as it was helpful to increasing her strength, as long as it wasn't crooked, then she would accept it. This was what Lu Yuan admired the most about Zhu Zhuqing. Have you memorized it all? Lu Yuan asked softly after explaining the cultivation method of the Phoenix Dance's 6 illusions to Zhu Zhuqing. Yes, I've pretty much memorized it. From the description of this cultivation method, not only is this movement technique abnormally mysterious, but it is also very elegant. Where did you get such a good movement technique? Zhu Zhuqing was somewhat curious. Just as Lu Yuan was about to speak, he was interrupted by Zhu Zhuqing. Don't tell me you created it yourself. This movement technique exudes elegance from the bones, but your attack style can only be described with one word, and that is reckless. This movement technique doesn't fit your personality at all. Hearing this, Lu Yuan smiled bitterly. He didn't expect Zhu Zhuqing to understand him so well. One had to know that this was something that even Helena, who had been with him day and night, hadn't guessed, but Zhu Zhuqing had. His battles had always been open and wide. The elegant and ethereal movement technique of the Phoenix Dance's 6 illusions was indeed incompatible with the Golden Dragon Fist's fighting style. On the contrary, it was exceptionally compatible with Zhu Zhuqing. It was precisely because of this that Lu Yuan had already begun to create his own movement technique and had already made some progress. It wouldn't be long before he would be able to create his own movement technique. Moreover, Lu Yuan was confident that once this movement technique was born, it might even be above the Phoenix Dance's 6 illusions. Don't worry about whether I created it myself or not. You just need to learn it well. Why are you asking so many questions? Lu Yuan flicked Zhu Zhuqing's forehead, making Zhu Zhuqing couldn't help but pout her small mouth. Humph. Zhu Zhuqing glared at Lu Yuan. She walked to the side alone and began to practice the Phoenix Dance's 6 illusions. It had to be said that Zhu Zhuqing's beautiful figure and the Phoenix Dance's 6 illusions were a perfect match. Moreover, the Phoenix Dance's 6 illusions seemed to be really compatible with Zhu Zhuqing. Zhu Zhuqing was very quick to learn, at least much faster than Helena's speed. Lu Yuan quietly watched Zhu Zhuqing practice. Occasionally, he would point out a few inadequacies. In just one afternoon, Zhu Zhuqing's improvement was really huge. Looking at the somewhat dark sky, Lu Yuan sighed and walked towards the direction of Soto City. He was going to keep his appointment. Chapter 274. At night, in Shrek Academy's canteen, Zhu Zhuqing was sitting alone as she slowly ate the food in front of her. Ma Hongjun and Oscar were sitting together as they looked at Zhu Zhuqing suspiciously. Ning Rongrong, who was standing at the side, also kept looking over in surprise. Why was Zhu Zhuqing the only one here? Where was Lu Yuan? There was also Xiao Wu, who was swinging her long scorpion braids. Her eyes were wandering, as if someone she hated wasn't around. As for Dai Mubai, he was nowhere to be found. Ever since he was defeated by Zhu Zhuqing yesterday, he had disappeared. What? Tang San? Sorry, he's still lying in bed. Lu Yuan's golden dragon spear had broken at least 4 or 5 of his ribs. He couldn't recover in 2 days. Even though he was a soul master and had strong recovery abilities, he had to be bedridden for at least a week before he could get out of bed. Of course, there was someone who was even worse off than Tang San. It was the man called Ri Tian, who only dared to F***ck grass. He was still lying in a house somewhere like a dead dog. Flender really didn't care about him. He was quite bold. He only had a middle-aged woman feed Tang Hao some porridge every day. As long as he didn't die, it was fine. As for his injuries, he didn't care. At the very least, Tang Hao had to be bedridden for another month. When Long Xiaoyaro said half a month, he meant that he could barely get out of bed in half a month with the help of a healing-type soul master. After all, even though healing-type soul masters couldn't heal Tang Hao's injuries, they could still speed up his recovery. However, it was a little too conservative to say that it was a month. Sister-in-law Zhuqing, why are you alone? Where's Boss Yuan? Ma Hongjun asked. Zhu Zhuqing was expressionless as she said, he went to meet someone. Then why didn't Boss Yuan bring you along? Ma Hongjun was a little curious. After all, Lu Yuan had been inseparable from Zhu Zhuqing for the past 2 days. They were very close. He won't bring me along when he meets her. Why should I follow him? Zhu Zhuqing said faintly. She stood up and cleaned the plate. Then, she turned around and returned to her wooden house. Something's not right. Ma Hongjun rubbed his double chin and said in confusion. I think she looks a little jealous. Ning Rongrong's eyes flashed. Was her guess yesterday true? Lu Yuan had other women besides Zhu Zhuqing. Moreover, Zhu Zhuqing seemed to know about this matter. Ning Rongrong's mind raced. Jealous? Could it be? Ma Hongjun and Oscar looked at each other, and a glint flashed across their eyes. Boss Yuan was indeed a role model for men. With such a beautiful girl like Zhu Zhuqing, he still dared to, truly a role model for our generation. Why don't we go and see who Boss Yuan wants to meet? To be honest, I'm very curious. The small eyes on Ma Hongjun's chubby face emitted a strange light. Lu Yuan's actions made his heart itch. That seems to work too. Oscar nodded gently, and his pair of peach blossom eyes flashed with a gossipy look. He was also very curious about the person Lu Yuan left Zhu Zhuqing to meet alone. I'll go too. Ning Rongrong hurriedly came out. She wanted to verify her guess. Boring. Xiao Wu shook her scorpion braids. In fact, she was also a little curious, but she still had to take care of Tang San. Tang San said he wanted to eat yam today, so she was going to buy him a piece. Buy a big piece. The 3 of them looked at each other and casually ate a few mouthfuls of the food on the plate. After cleaning it up, the 3 of them secretly rushed in the direction of the Great Soul Arena. Great Soul Arena. Lu Yuan's footsteps were light as they made contact with the ground, emitting a clattering sound. The central Great Soul Arena was the most lively area in the Great Soul Arena. Generally, only important matches would be held here. The matches held here all had a very high commercial component. For example, The battle between Shrek's 7 monsters and Heaven Do Imperial Academy in the original work was held in the central Great Soul Arena. That battle actually had a high commercial component and was not just a simple soul duel. Lu Yuan naturally came to this place before. In other words, basically, Lu Yuan's battles were carried out in this place. Because the battles he participated in were all one versus many battles, the battles were very exciting. So Lu Yuan was still very familiar with this place. He didn't wear a mask, or rather, Lu Yuan didn't want to wear a mask. Because of this map, he couldn't stay for long. Step by step, Lu Yuan thought that he would be able to see Xiao Shui, who he missed so much. In a moment, he was looking forward to it. When he came to the arena, both sides of the central Great Soul Arena were full of people, which made Lu Yuan frown slightly. He thought that Chihiro Snow had evacuated in advance. After all, this was their reunion, and Lu Yuan didn't want so many third wheels watching from the side. So what does Chihiro Snow mean? Does he want to defeat me in front of so many people? Lu Yuan was a little puzzled in his heart, but he still slowly walked into the Great Soul Arena and stepped onto the arena. Looking at the familiar figure with a golden mask and golden dress on the opposite side of the arena, Lu Yuan's heart beat slightly. "Share," Lu Yuan said softly, with a gentle look in his eyes. But the golden figure didn't move at all, as if she didn't hear Lu Yuan's call. Lu Yuan shook his head helplessly when he saw the look on Chen Renshue's face. What will come will come. It seems that Shui is determined to teach me a lesson. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today, we are fortunate enough to have 2 heavyweight contestants on our stage. The one on the left is contestant Huang Long. Everyone must have heard a lot about Huang Long, and today is the first time contestant Huang Long has appeared in the competition with his original appearance. Isn't he handsome? The host's voice carried a little teasing. Handsome, very handsome. Huang Long. Huang Long. The audience below the stage shouted wildly. Lu Yuan's fame in the Great Soul Arena was definitely not fake. It was earned by proving himself with his achievements. It was not surprising that he could be tempted by so many people. Hearing the cheers of the audience, the host had a brilliant smile on his face. The contestant on my right, her codename is Angel. She's an extremely talented soul master, a true genius. Today, she'll be competing with our contestant, Emperor Dragon. So, who will win this battle? Let's wait and see. The competition officially begins. As soon as the host's voice fell, he walked directly off the arena. At the same time, Chihiro Snow's body suddenly released a golden light, and 6 white wings rose behind her. The bright golden light with a sacred pressure rushed towards Lu Yuan like a tide. Chapter 275. The aura of the 6-winged angel surged towards Lu Yuan like a tidal wave. Lu Yuan raised his eyebrows slightly when he sensed the strength of this aura. It seemed like Cher's strength had improved tremendously over the years. This aura was almost comparable to that of a soul sage. His polychoria flickered and Lu Yuan saw Chen Renshue's beautiful face under the mask. 2 years had passed and Shui had become even more charming. Rank 59. This was Chihiro Snow's current rank. She was only 1 step away from rank 60. Chihiro Snow was 6 years older than Lu Yuan. This meant that Chihiro Snow was only 18 years old, but she was already about to become a soul emperor. This speed was very fast. It was very difficult to find anyone in the entire Douluo continent who could compare to Chihiro Snow. Of course, he was an exception. The martial spirit of the 6-winged angel was extremely sacred. Only a faintly discernible chanting sound could be heard. Behind Chen Renshue, a beautiful female angel opened her arms, and sacred golden light sprinkled down. Yellow, yellow, purple, purple, and black soul rings surrounded Chihiro Snow and rippled happily. Lu Yuan smiled wryly as he sensed the divine power emanating from Shui's body. It seemed that he would have to fight with Shui to his heart's content. If he did not let her vent her anger, it would be troublesome to coax her. Lu Yuan smiled gently and said in a gentle voice, "Cher, I remember that we haven't sparred for 4 years. Let's have a good fight today." Lu Yuan and Chihiro Snow had interacted for a year in the plum garden. During that time, the two of them sparred frequently. Although Lu Yuan lost every time, that was because Lu Yuan was still too young and didn't have many tricks up his sleeve. However, Lu Yuan was no longer the same as before. To be honest, he was looking forward to sparring with Chihiro Snow again. However, Chihiro Snow was his woman, and he was too embarrassed to ask her normally. This time, Chihiro Snow was deliberately challenging him because she was angry. This was a good opportunity. Hearing Lu Yuan's words, Chihiro Snow still didn't answer, but the corners of her mouth under the mask couldn't help but curl up. She wanted to see how much this stinky guy had improved in the past 2 years. Lu Yuan let out a low roar, and the golden dragon martial soul instantly appeared in his body. Golden scales began to climb on his arms, and Lu Yuan's arms completely turned into a pair of golden dragon claws. Faint scales also appeared on his neck and cheeks. In the middle of his forehead was a diamond-shaped golden dragon scale. A dragon's roar resounded, and a resplendent golden light radiated from Lu Yuan's body. The giant dragon phantom behind him opened its arms, and a domineering and powerful force suppressed Chihiro Snow's six-winged angel aura. Yellow, purple, black, and black soul rings that exceeded the optimal combination slowly appeared under Lu Yuan's body. With every soul ring that appeared, Lu Yuan's aura increased by a bit. When the fourth soul ring appeared, Lu Yuan's aura was no longer inferior to Chihiro Snow's, and even surpassed her. This stinky guy, his cultivation speed is so fast. Seeing the 4 soul rings on Lu Yuan's body, Chihiro Snow was inwardly shocked. She seemed to have broken through to Soul Ancestor at the age of 12, but that was because she had rank 20 innate soul power. However, although Lu Yuan's golden dragon martial soul was strong, and was comparable to her 6-winged angel, it wasn't a god-ranked martial soul. His innate soul power was only at rank 10, but he still broke through to Soul Ancestor at the age of 12. This talent seemed to be quite amazing. His cultivation speed was even faster than hers. Furthermore, this guy actually managed to obtain a 10,000-year third soul ring. Chihiro Snow couldn't help but feel proud in her heart. This was the man she had taken a fancy to. He was definitely a dragon among men. However, Chen Renshue was only happy for a moment before the expression on her face became serious. This stinking fellow was originally someone who could cross realms as easily as drinking water. If she didn't fight seriously, she might lose to him. She still wanted to teach him a lesson. In this way, wouldn't her plan fail? This guy actually didn't come to see her for 2 years, so she had to teach him a lesson. Seeing that Lu Yuan had released his martial soul, the pure white wings on Chihiro Snow's back shook, and her figure quickly approached Lu Yuan. The third soul ring on her body lit up, and at the same time, a golden light condensed in her hand. A golden holy sword appeared in Chihiro Snow's hand. Chihiro Snow waved her arm, and the golden holy sword slashed towards Lu Yuan. This was Chihiro Snow's Seraph's third soul skill, Angelic Blade. The golden holy sword slashed towards Lu Yuan, bringing with it a sharp gust of wind. Seeing the golden holy sword slashing towards him, Lu Yuan didn't dare to underestimate it. The Seraph's Seraph was a god-ranked martial soul. It was fine if he was hit by it, but the purifying power would take the opportunity to enter his body and consume his soul power. That was the real threat. Golden light flashed in Lu Yuan's hand, and the golden dragon spear appeared in his hand. He thrust it forward, and with a light flick, the golden dragon spear collided with the angelic blade. Lu Yuan's figure did not move, but Chen Renshue took more than 10 steps back. Although the attack just now was just a light flick, the power contained in it was definitely not small. It should be known that in terms of strength, the golden dragon specialized in strength. Now, Lu Yuan's casual swing had the strength of 65,000 kilograms. How terrifying was that? It would be strange if Chihiro Snow could block it. One had to know that Lu Yuan had only used 50% of his strength. After all, she was his wife, and he couldn't hurt her. What great strength! Chihiro Snow steadied himself, and looked at Lu Yuan, who didn't move at all, with a slight change in his expression. Lu Yuan's strength was simply too great. Just a light flick was enough to make him feel like he couldn't hold onto the holy sword. The golden dragon truly deserved to be called the ultimate strength. It seemed that if he wanted to defeat this stinking fellow, he would have to use his strength. His second soul ring lit up, and Chihiro Snow's figure became somewhat illusory. It was his second soul skill, Void Wings. The effect of Void Wings was that in the illusory state, one would be immune to physical attacks and energy attacks by 50%. In addition, one's speed would be increased by 20%. Chihiro Snow's figure flashed, and he clenched his fist. First soul skill, Angel Assault. A golden halo condensed on Chihiro Snow's fist, and he punched straight at Lu Yuan. At the same time, a golden light shield enveloped Chihiro Snow. This soul skill was both offensive and defensive. At the same time, the golden halo on his fist had a very strong suppressive effect on soul power. This was a close-range single-target attack. Qian Renshue's speed was extremely fast. In addition, Lu Yuan did not even try to block her attack. The punch landed directly on Lu Yuan's body, a golden light burst forth from Lu Yuan's chest, and Lu Yuan's figure was forced back 6 or 7 steps before he could stabilize himself. Patting his chest, Lu Yuan straightened his body. Angel Assault was indeed powerful, but it wasn't much of a threat to his physical strength. Chapter 276. It was just that the purifying power was a little troublesome. Of course, it was just a little troublesome. As soon as the purifying power entered his body, it was surrounded by Lu Yuan's clear energy and vast ocean power before it was quickly refined. The purifying power of an angel was indeed powerful, but Lu Yuan was also a man with 2 types of divine power. Lu Yuan deliberately took this punch. If he didn't take a few punches, how could Chihiro Snow vent his anger? Furthermore, a few punches didn't hurt or itch. It wasn't like the angel's light blade at the beginning. If he didn't block it, it would definitely open a big hole in Lu Yuan's body. Taking a few punches was fine. As if he understood Lu Yuan's intention, Chihiro Snow really did throw a few punches at Lu Yuan's body. Lu Yuan couldn't help but smile bitterly. Cher's resentment towards him was quite deep. Suddenly, Chihiro Snow's 4th soul ring lit up. Golden feathers turned into feather blades and shot towards Lu Yuan. The feather blades were like a rain of swords, and Lu Yuan was shocked. This was Chihiro Snow's 4th soul skill, Falling Golden Feathers. Lu Yuan naturally couldn't take this kind of attack head-on. The golden dragon spear in his hand was as agile as a swimming dragon, and blocked all the golden feather blades that flew towards him. Spear technique, Vast Ocean. Lu Yuan's self-created soul skill, Boundless Sea. It was a spear technique that he had created based on his own understanding of the Boundless Sea spear art. It was both offensive and defensive, and it contained the intent of the Boundless Sea. When the spear pierced out, the sound of waves rang out, and streaks of spear light swept away all the feather blades like waves. Bang! Another punch landed on Lu Yuan's body. Lu Yuan turned around and grabbed at the air. This was because Chihiro Snow was immune to all physical attacks in his Void Wings. Be careful, Cher. He thrust his golden dragon spear forward. Vast Sea Universe. Lu Yuan shouted in a low voice. His spear had not yet pierced out, but a cold light had already appeared. The cold spear intent had already locked onto Chihiro Snow. Chihiro Snow's aura was like a monstrous wave pressing down on his body. Even though Chihiro Snow was in an intangible state, he still felt his heart palpitate. Not daring to be careless, the golden sacred sword immediately blocked in front of him. With a clang, Chihiro Snow's figure was quickly thrown to the back. This shot had actually knocked Chihiro Snow out of his wings of nothingness. How is this possible? It was Qian Renshue's first time speaking. There was a hint of shock in her tone. She was clearly in the state of nothingness and was immune to all physical attacks. However, not only did Lu Yuan's shot hit her, but it also knocked her out of the state of nothingness. Chihiro Snow held the sacred sword in her hand. She did not attack. Instead, she looked at Lu Yuan with puzzlement in her beautiful eyes. What the hell is going on? This is the power of intent. Intent is invisible, so even if you are immune to physical attacks, the power of intent can still hurt you. Seeing Chihiro Snow's puzzled expression, Lu Yuan smiled faintly. Spear intent was one of the great powers that he currently possessed. It was enough to allow him to fight above his rank. Moreover, it was also a great counter to skills that were immune to physical attacks. So, this is intent. Chihiro Snow muttered softly. Chihiro Snow also knew about intent. However, there were very few people on the Douluo continent who had comprehended intent. At the very least, among the people that Lu Yuan knew, the sword Douluo was the only one who had comprehended sword intent. However, other than himself, the only other person who had comprehended spear intent was Yang Wudi. Yang Wudi was the leader of the Breakers. His offensive strength was extremely high, and he was able to fight against a titled Douluo as a sole Douluo. Perhaps he relied on the power of his intent realm, and he was also an extremely offensive person. That was why he was able to do so. It seems like you have improved a lot over the years. Chihiro Snow sighed. In the past, with his wings of nothingness, Lu Yuan was almost perfectly countered by Chihiro Snow. Therefore, he had almost never won against Chihiro Snow. However, now that Lu Yuan had comprehended spear intent, he was a considerable threat to Chihiro Snow. If I don't work hard to become stronger, how can I protect you in the future, Cher? Lu Yuan looked at Chihiro Snow with deep love in his eyes. After hearing Lu Yuan's words, Chihiro Snow felt a trace of sweetness in his heart. Stinky fellow, at least you still have some conscience. However, even if you want to train and become stronger, you shouldn't have not come to see me for more than 2 years. Don't you even have this little bit of time? H, you only know how to say things that sound good. Let me ask you, where have you been for the past 2 years? Especially in the first year, I couldn't even find any news about you. It was as if you had disappeared from the face of the earth. Chihiro Snow's tone was indifferent, but there was a trace of complaint in it. He was complaining about why Lu Yuan hadn't come to see him for so long. However, Chihiro Snow wouldn't say something like you didn't even come to see me. She couldn't say such words. Being able to say such words was already the limit of Chihiro Snow. I will tell you about these things later. I will tell you everything. Cher, don't be angry, okay? Lu Yuan said. Temph, I want to be angry. Moreover, I want to see how much progress you have made in the past 2 years. Chihiro Snow arrogantly snorted, and a bright golden light enveloped the entire ring. In an instant, the entire ring turned into a golden world. Lu Yuan only felt that his strength seemed to be suppressed. Furthermore, there was always a holy purification power drilling into his body, trying to consume his strength. Is this the angel domain? Lu Yuan's expression became serious. Without the angel domain, Chihiro Snow was a completely different person. Stinking brat, today I will let you experience the power of the angel domain. You shouldn't be able to move now, right? Chihiro Snow's crisp voice rang out. Under the effects of the angel domain, Lu Yuan's strength was reduced by 10%, while Chihiro Snow's strength was increased by 10%. This was a considerable gap. Furthermore, there was a mysterious power that imprisoned him in the angel domain. It seemed that he couldn't move easily. Was this the power of the angel domain? Sigh. Lu Yuan sighed softly. Golden light shone from his body as he donned the golden dragon armor. At the same time, his second golden dragon soul ring lit up as he activated his second soul skill, Golden Dragon War Body. The Golden Dragon War Body was immune to all control-type skills, so the imprisonment of the Angel Domain was also ineffective. Furthermore, the buff provided by the Golden Dragon armor was enough to offset the reduction of the Angel Domain. You are finally showing your true strength. Seeing Lu Yuan donning the Golden Dragon armor, Chihiro Snow knew that Lu Yuan was starting to get serious. This was exactly what she wanted. She wanted to see how strong Lu Yuan was now. Fifth soul skill, Holy Sword. This sword was formed from holy fire, and its attack power was extremely strong. It could also increase the purification effect of the Angel Domain's soul power by 300%. Chapter 277. The Holy Sword was Chihiro Snow's fifth soul skill, and it was also his only 10,000-year soul skill. It was very powerful. With Lu Yuan's current abilities, it might be a little difficult to deal with him. The Holy Sword slashed towards Lu Yuan with intense golden flames. Lu Yuan naturally wouldn't retreat. Light flowed on his golden dragon spear as he rushed towards Chihiro Snow. The two of them instantly engaged in a fight. At this moment, the three people who had secretly followed them also arrived at the central Great Soul Arena. Through the golden light screen, they could still vaguely see the two of them fighting. It could be seen that the battle was very intense. Wow, there's actually someone who can fight with Boss Lu to this extent, Ma Hongjun exclaimed. Looking at the two of them fighting fiercely, his fat face was full of surprise. Lu Yuan's strength was enough to defeat a Soul Emperor, but now a Soul King was actually fighting with Lu Yuan to this extent. This Soul King is definitely not simple. Yes. Oscar nodded, but his eyes were looking at the two of them through the golden light screen. It seems like the person fighting with Lu Yuan really looks like a girl. Is it really what we think? It's very possible. Ma Hongjun nodded. It's just as I thought. Ning Rongrong snorted softly, and a smile flashed across her eyes. Isn't this exactly what I thought? Lu Yuan indeed has other girlfriends besides Zhu Zhuqing. Doesn't this mean that my chances are much higher? A half-hearted person is easier to deal with than a single-minded person. Ning Rongrong's heart was filled with joy as she gently blinked her beautiful eyes. While the three of them were sneakily watching, in a private room, three old men were watching the battle between two people. They were the Serpent Spear Thorny Pufferfish and the Frenzy Rhino Douluo. Young Master Yuan is growing really fast. The Frenzy Rhino Douluo sighed softly. 2 years ago, when he followed Lu Yuan was only a rank 29 Soul Grandmaster. However, in just 2 years, he was already a Soul Ancestor. Furthermore, the combination of Soul Rings left even him astonished. 3rd ring and 4th ring in 10,000 years. Such talent was truly terrifying. Yes. After hearing the frenzied Rhino Douluo's words, the Snake Spear Douluo nodded and said, Young Master Yuan must be very powerful to be able to fight young mistress to such an extent in the angelic domain. Chihiro Snow unleashed his angelic domain, and his strength was close to that of a soul sage. However, even so, Lu Yuan wasn't at a disadvantage. His fighting strength was rather frightening. Who do you think will win this match? Young Master Yuan or young mistress? The Thorny Dolphin Douluo suddenly asked. The Snake Spear Douluo analyzed, I'm guessing it's the young mistress. After all, the young mistress' soul power is much higher than Sir Yuan's. Furthermore, Sir Yuan's soul power is being depleted rapidly in the angel domain. They might be able to fight to a draw now, but once he expends too much soul power, he'll eventually lose. What he said was very reasonable. After all, the power of a domain could not be underestimated. As a talent domain, the angel domain was much more powerful than the acquired domain. Lu Yuan's soul power was being depleted continuously. Even though he was as ferocious as a tiger right now, once he ran out of soul power, he would be defeated. Yes, I think so too. The Thorny Dolphin Douluo nodded. He felt that the Snake Spear Douluo was right. I have a different opinion. I think young Master Yuan will win. Don't forget that young Master Yuan has only used his 1st and 2nd soul skills. He hasn't even used his 3 or 4 10,000-year soul skills yet. The outcome might not be certain. Furthermore, no one can guarantee that young Master Yuan doesn't have any other trump card. The frenzied Rhino Douluo said, I've followed young Master Yuan for some time. He's someone who always has a backup plan. He must have some other trump cards. Once he uses them, young mistress is very likely to lose. After hearing the frenzied Rhino Douluo's analysis, the Snake Spear Douluo and the Thorny Dolphin Douluo looked at each other before they turned back to the arena. They wanted to see who was right. After pushing Chihiro Snow back with another spear strike, Lu Yuan sensed that he only had half of his soul power left. He said softly, Share, your angel domain is quite interesting. I only have half of my soul power left. So you're going to admit defeat? Rascal, I won't make things difficult for you. Just let me beat you up. Chihiro Snow chuckled as he spoke. That won't do. It's fine if we do it in private, but there are so many people watching. If I get beaten up in front of them, it'll be so embarrassing. Lu Yuan smiled as he spoke. Chimph, then what are you talking about? Take this. The wings behind Chihiro Snow's back flapped, and the holy sword slashed towards Lu Yuan once again. Seeing Chihiro Snow's actions, Lu Yuan didn't dodge. He only said softly, "Cher, have you seen the color of chaos?" What? Chihiro Snow was a little perplexed, and even the holy sword in his hand slowed down slightly. Lu Yuan's dual pupils flashed, and 2 streaks of chaotic light shot forth, instantly causing the entire golden light barrier to ripple. Dual pupils, chaotic light. As soon as his voice trailed off, the light in his eyes swept forth, and the entire angel domain instantly collapsed as golden energy scattered in all direction. How is this possible? Is this the power of your second martial soul? Chihiro Snow was in disbelief at the sight of the shock in Lu Yuan's eyes. One had to realize that this was an angel domain, yet it had been broken by a single streak of light. Just how powerful was this rascal's second martial soul? A faint smile appeared on Lu Yuan's face at the sight of Chihiro Snow's astonished expression, and he gently drew a circle with his golden dragon spear. Unpredictable storm. This was the first technique of the sea god's 13 halberds, and it was also the only control-type technique. With Lu Yuan's current strength, it was enough to immobilize Chihiro Snow for 8 seconds. What the hell is this? Being enveloped by the golden light, Chen Renshue was immediately unable to move. Her entire body stiffened on the spot. Lu Yuan's body flashed, and he clamped Chihiro Snow under his right arm before quickly making his way out of the arena. Mr. Huang Long, the match isn't over yet. The host's panicked voice sounded as Lu Yuan left the arena with Chihiro Snow. I admit defeat. Lu Yuan's voice sounded from afar. The battle here had already ended, but there was another battle waiting for him. Lu Yuan's angel's domain had been broken through, and his final actions had been witnessed by everyone. The same went for the 3 fellows from Shrek Academy who had followed him in secret. Ma Hongjun muttered under his breath, "Oh my god, I don't believe that there's nothing going on between Boss Yuan and this girl. Impressive." He carried the girl and ran away in front of everyone. Lu Yuan is truly a role model for our generation. Oscar and Ma Hongjun looked at each other, and both of them chuckled. Perverted. Ning Rongrong couldn't help but pout at the sight of the 2 people beside her. Chapter 278. Stinky guy, let go of me. Chihiro Snow struggled with all her might under Lu Yuan's right arm. However, Lu Yuan's strength was so great that Chihiro Snow couldn't break free at all. I won't let go. Cher, just stay here quietly. With a faint smile, Lu Yuan tightened his arms. Suddenly, Chihiro Snow lost all her strength. Her body was sore and she stopped struggling. She just quietly let Lu Yuan clamp her under his right arm. Stinky guy, where are you taking me? Seeing that her struggle was futile, Chihiro Snow bit her red lips and asked, Where are we going? Naturally, I'm going to find a place to communicate with you. Let me think. Is the grove better? Or the meadow better? Lu Yuan pretended to hesitate for a while and sighed, Ari, it's really hard to choose. Hearing this, Chihiro Snow's body suddenly stiffened. This stinky guy didn't know how to think. Chihiro Snow was anxious. It wasn't that she was unwilling, but with her pride, how could she accept a place like the grove and the meadow in the wilderness? Stinky guy, if you dare to do this to me, I'll bite you to death. Chihiro Snow thought for a long time, but didn't know what to say. She could only threaten Lu Yuan like this. Is that so? With a thought, Lu Yuan's body was suddenly covered with golden armor. It was the golden dragon armor. Looking at Chihiro Snow with a smile, Lu Yuan said, Bite, just bite. I won't be responsible if your teeth break. Hearing this, Chen Renshue's pretty face immediately turned black. Even the golden dragon battle armor had been brought out, so what was the point of biting it? This thing's defensive power couldn't even be split open by a holy sword, let alone her teeth. When did this stinky guy become so shameless? Looking at the gentle smile on Lu Yuan's face, Chihiro Snow only felt that it was so hateful. She didn't feel the warmth from before at all. This stinking fellow definitely had a change of heart. How could he treat her like this? It must be that Zhu Qing. After being with her for so long, this stinky fellow doesn't even love me anymore. If it was in the past, seeing that I was unhappy, he would have come to coax me. Qian Ranxue thought indignantly in her heart. What's wrong? Not biting anymore? Lu Yuan's tone was gentle. He smiled and said, since you don't want to bite me, then we'll continue forward. I think the forest is better. It's quiet enough. No one will find us. Hearing this, Qian Renshue's delicate figure trembled. Stinking brat. Chihiro Snow's tone was a little flirtatious. Her voice was sweet and soft, which was very different from her usual domineering tone. You won't do that to me, right? Chihiro Snow looked at Lu Yuan pitifully. Her long eyelashes fluttered gently. Coupled with her beautiful face, it was really indescribably seductive. Lu Yuan was immediately mesmerized. To be able to make him mesmerized, it wasn't a simple matter. Chihiro Snow's charm was indeed irresistible. As for why he could see Chihiro Snow's face? Because her mask had fallen off long ago. It had fallen off when she was struggling. However, Lu Yuan recovered after a slight daze. Looking at Chihiro Snow, who was acting coquettishly, Lu Yuan laughed in his heart. It seemed that he had really scared this girl. Also, with this girl's background, how could she accept doing that kind of thing with him in the forest? She must have been scared out of her wits. What's wrong, Cher? Are you scared now? Didn't you want to find trouble with me? Didn't you say that you wanted to give me a good beating? Lu Yuan looked at Chihiro Snow with a smile that wasn't a smile. Are you still going to find trouble with me now? Don't look, don't look. Chihiro Snow quickly shook her head, but in her heart, she was cursing Lu Yuan. Stinking brat, I'll let you be proud now. When I get free, see how I'll teach you a lesson. Chihiro Snow was a little unwilling, but now that she was being clamped under Lu Yuan's right arm, it was like a piece of meat on a chopping board. She had no choice but to lower her head. However, when she was free, she would definitely teach Lu Yuan a lesson. This stinking brat, he was really rebellious. He actually dared to treat her like this. I'm not convinced. Lu Yuan sighed softly. He lifted his right hand and pulled Qian Runxue to his front, hugging her tightly in his arms. Gently rubbing Chihiro Snow's cheek, Lu Yuan said softly, silly girl, I was lying. How could I treat you like this? You're my most beloved Cher. Is that so? Chihiro Snow snorted and said, stinking brat, did you forget that you still have me? I haven't returned to Heaven Do Imperial City for more than 2 years, and you actually want to take me to that kind of place to do that kind of thing. I really want to bite you to death. Chihiro Snow's face turned red as she angrily complained about Lu Yuan's inappropriate actions. It's my fault. Lu Yuan decisively admitted his mistake. These 2 years of being engrossed in cultivation, he had indeed neglected Cher and his senior sister. They probably missed him very much. It won't happen again in the future. I'll accompany you often, Lu Yuan said softly. He had stayed in Shrek Academy for a long time, and he was preparing to return to the Martial Soul Palace and start preparing to establish his own power. He had chosen Heaven Do Imperial City as the location, and there would definitely be many opportunities to meet Chihiro Snow. Is that so? Chihiro Snow was delighted when she heard this. However, she was still a proud person. Chen-ph, who wants your company? Do you really not want me to accompany you? Lu Yuan gently kissed Qian Renshue's earlobe and blew a breath of air into her ear. Chihiro Snow's body immediately went soft, and she collapsed into Lu Yuan's arms. She didn't have any strength left in her body. Lu Yuan laughed and picked Chihiro Snow up by the waist. Chihiro Snow's heart thumped as she was carried in Lu Yuan's arms. She buried her little head deep into Lu Yuan's chest. Chihiro Snow quietly listened to Lu Yuan's heartbeat, and her clear voice sounded in Lu Yuan's ears. "Stinky fellow, you've become naughty." Lu Yuan's lips curled up when he heard this. "Do you like it then?" "Mph, I don't like it." Chihiro Snow snorted and lowered her head. Then, when Lu Yuan wasn't paying attention, she lifted her head slightly and stole a glance at Lu Yuan's handsome face. Ah! Out of the corner of his eye, Lu Yuan noticed that Chihiro Snow didn't mean what she said. Lu Yuan laughed. "This share, her arrogance has already become a disease. I'm afraid that it's the terminal stage." Hugging Chihiro Snow's soft body, Lu Yuan found a high-end hotel and asked for a suite. They couldn't really be in the wilderness. That was just a joke. He regarded Chihiro Snow as a pearl and a treasure. Not to mention that Chihiro Snow was unwilling. Even if Chihiro Snow was willing, he wouldn't agree. Opening the door, Lu Yuan looked at the pink decorations that revealed a bit of ambiguity. He nodded with satisfaction. The decorations were not bad. He hooked the door with his leg and closed it. Looking at Chihiro Snow's blushing face in his arms, Lu Yuan couldn't hold back his feelings anymore. He lowered his head and kissed Chihiro Snow's delicate red lips. Chapter 279. Lu Yuan could not help but kiss Chihiro Snow. Chihiro Snow also hugged Lu Yuan's neck tightly and responded passionately. Gently brushing Chihiro Snow's golden hair, Lu Yuan's body slowly moved forward. He placed Chihiro Snow on the bed, and then slowly pressed down. 2 hours later, gently wiping the sweat on Chihiro Snow's forehead, Lu Yuan tucked the sweat-soaked golden hair behind her ear, and lovingly kissed Chihiro Snow's forehead. Chihiro Snow quietly laid in Lu Yuan's arms, her snow-white arms hugging Lu Yuan's neck. Chihiro Snow's expression was peaceful, and her beautiful face had an unusual blush, looking exceptionally charming. Only her smooth brows occasionally wrinkled, and a trace of pain flashed across Chihiro Snow's small face. "How is it? Does it still hurt?" Lu Yuan asked with concern. "What do you think?" Chihiro Snow's beautiful eyes fiercely glanced at Lu Yuan, and said, "You don't know how to be tender to a woman at all. This is my first time." "It's my first time too." Lu Yuan's mouth revealed a trace of a wry smile. He did not do it on purpose, he really only did it once. Who asked the Golden Dragon's bloodline to be so powerful? Speaking of which, he was still somewhat in the middle of the road. Sigh, being too strong was also a problem. "I don't know what you ate growing up. How can you be so strong?" Chihiro Snow's face had a trace of lingering fear. Lu Yuan did not seem to know fatigue at all. That kind of strength made her little heart tremble a little. If it wasn't for Lu Yuan's concern for her and his love for her and his gentleness, she might have fainted already. No wonder this guy had to find a few girlfriends. If she was alone, it would be difficult. Chihiro Snow's heart did not have any resistance to Hu Lena and Zhu Zhuqing. It was rare that she did not have any resistance. She really needed a few people to help her. "You know about the Golden Dragon's bloodline." Lu Yuan smiled bitterly. He was so strong, he had no choice. "Humph." Chihiro Snow snorted, hugged Lu Yuan's arm, and leaned on it. Lu Yuan could only accept a few of the dragon's bloodline until now. To be honest, Chihiro Snow was already quite satisfied in her heart. Moreover, Lu Yuan's movements just now were so unfamiliar, indicating that she was definitely his first woman. Chihiro Snow's heart was slightly sweet. This smelly guy did not lie to her, she was the main wife. Gently stroking Chihiro Snow's face and looking at Chihiro Snow's beautiful face, Lu Yuan's heart was moved. He lowered his head and gently kissed Chihiro Snow's red lips. Chihiro Snow's delicate body trembled, looking at Lu Yuan's eyes with a trace of fear. "You don't want more, do you?" "No. Do I look like someone who doesn't know how to behave?" Lu Yuan gently kissed Chihiro Snow's temples and said, "I just want to hug you like this." Chihiro Snow's red lips moved, as if she had made a decision, and said, "If you really want more, you can go find Zhu Zhuqing, I don't mind." "What are you talking about?" Lu Yuan gently flicked Chihiro Snow's forehead and said, "Do I look like someone who leaves after eating? I'm not going anywhere tonight, I'll stay here with you." "Okay." Chihiro Snow softly acknowledged, and hugged Lu Yuan's arm tightly, a beautiful smile never seen before on her face. Rest well, Cher, it's been hard on you these past few years, you're too tired, you need a good rest. The heavy responsibility of the martial Soul Palace was placed on Chihiro Snow's shoulders. She was a young girl in the prime of her youth, hiding in the dangerous Heaven Do Empire, and it went without saying how much hardship she had suffered. Even though Lu Yuan had helped her secure her position as the crown prince, and gradually increased her power and influence, Chihiro Snow still felt immense pressure in her heart. Furthermore, Lu Yuan hadn't been by her side for the past 2 years, so Chihiro Snow hadn't been happy. At this moment, Chihiro Snow felt an unprecedented sense of security by Lu Yuan's side, and she just wanted to quietly lean in Lu Yuan's arms. Hugging Chihiro Snow's snow-white body, and lightly smelling the delicate fragrance on Chihiro Snow's body, Lu Yuan slowly closed his eyes. The next day, Lu Yuan opened his eyes, and the first thing he saw was Chihiro Snow's beautiful face. Chihiro Snow's jade-like hand rested on her cheek, and her beautiful big eyes blinked as she quietly looked at Lu Yuan's face, her eyes filled with tenderness. Cher. Looking at Chihiro Snow's beautiful face, Lu Yuan softly called out. Stinking brat. Chihiro Snow softly whispered, a strange light in her eyes. Lu Yuan gently hugged Chihiro Snow's waist, and kissed Chihiro Snow's red lips, and his forehead pressed against hers. Cher, from now on, you're mine. You're mine too. Chihiro Snow softly said. Haha. That's right, I'm yours too. Lu Yuan laughed. Chihiro Snow was indeed Chihiro Snow, her possessiveness was no less than his, wanting to control everything in her own hands. If it was Helena or Zhu Zhuqing, they would definitely not say such words. Gently playing with Chihiro Snow's golden hair, Lu Yuan smiled and said, Cher, I'll accompany you to Soto City today, do you want to go? Chihiro Snow softly shook her head and said, I don't want to go out, you can just stay with me. What's wrong, does it still hurt? Lu Yuan asked. Hearing Lu Yuan's caring words, Chihiro Snow's heart warmed, this feeling of being pampered was really good. It's almost healed, it doesn't hurt anymore, I just don't want to go out, can you stay? Chihiro Snow said. All right. Lu Yuan gently nodded. Since Chihiro Snow had made such a request, he naturally wouldn't reject it, he also wanted to get closer to Chihiro Snow. Chihiro Snow leaned into Lu Yuan's embrace. Lu Yuan started to tell Chihiro Snow about his experiences over the past 2 years, even though Chihiro Snow might already know some of it. So you've been in the Great Star Do Forest for the past year, no wonder I couldn't find any information about you. Chihiro Snow's face was a little stunned, she didn't expect Lu Yuan to have stayed in the Great Star Do Forest for a year, it must have been very dangerous. The danger wasn't too bad, I even hunted a 15,000-year dark golden terraclaw bear, and it dropped a right arm bone, it's still relatively intact, but I didn't absorb it, I kept it in my ring. Cher, do you need it? If you need it, you can take it. The dark golden terraclaw bear's right arm bone was definitely a rare treasure. After all, the dark golden terraclaw bear was a transcendent soul beast on par with the Titan giant ape. Their soul bones were extremely rare. Even if it couldn't compare to a 100,000-year soul bone, it was definitely comparable to a 50,000-year soul bone and above. There's no need, you can keep it. Didn't you say you wanted to establish your own organization? You'll need it when the time comes, Chihiro Snow said. Cher, you're not against me establishing my own organization? Lu Yuan was a little surprised as he asked. Chapter 280. Why should I object? Chihiro Snow chuckled as he looked at Lu Yuan. Isn't what's yours also mine? Isn't the organization you're creating a part of the Martial Soul Palace? Chihiro Snow asked. Lu Yuan laughed when he heard that. That's right, what's mine is also yours. The organization he was creating was naturally Chihiro Snow's, but whether or not it was a part of the Martial Soul Palace was still up for debate. He couldn't possibly hand over the authority of his organization to someone unrelated to the Martial Soul Palace, not even Sendryu. In the Martial Soul Palace, he only acknowledged Chihiro Snow, Helena, Bibidon, and half of the Golden Crocodile. As for the others, in Lu Yuan's eyes, they were members of his own organization. Other than being from the same organization, there was no other relationship between them. If Chihiro Snow wanted to borrow the strength of his organization, Lu Yuan would definitely help him without hesitation. He could even hand over the authority to Chihiro Snow. However, if Sendryu wanted to interfere, then he couldn't. Only he could touch his things. No one else could interfere. If anyone dared to touch his things, he would chop off their claws. What kind of organization are you planning to create? What's its name? Chihiro Snow asked with interest. Let's call it the Dragon Palace. You can see it as an existence similar to the Pontiff's Palace and the Elder's Palace, Lu Yuan said. Dragon Palace, that's a good name. However, your ambitions aren't small either. You actually want to be on par with the Pontiff's Palace and the Elder's Palace. Can you find so many titled Douluo? Even though the Dragon Emperor Douluo can hold the fort by himself, you can't let him do everything, can you? Chihiro Snow said in detail. After all, he's also an ultimate Douluo. He's also someone who cares about his reputation. I have my own plans. You just need to support me. I'm not afraid of difficulties or dangers. I'm just afraid that you won't understand me, Lu Yuan said as he gently caressed Chihiro Snow's face. I'm already yours. No matter what you do, I'll support you, Chihiro Snow said softly. Okay. Lu Yuan felt warmth in his heart as he gently caressed Chihiro Snow's golden hair. 3 days later, he stayed with Chen Runxue for 3 days. Because Chen Runxue was pressed for time, she had to leave. After parting with Chen Runxue, Lu Yuan returned to Shrek Academy. He had not returned for 3 days. He wondered how Zhu Zhuqing was doing. However, he thought about Zhu Zhuqing's character. At most, she would be sulking and would be fine after some counseling. After all, Chihiro Snow would only stay for 3 days. Therefore, Lu Yuan cherished every minute he spent with her. As for Zhu Zhuqing, he could only wait for Chihiro Snow to leave before coaxing her. Back at Shrek Academy seemed a little different today. Everyone was gathered in the plaza, and even Tang-san, who had been lying down the entire time, was out of bed. His complexion seemed to be fine, and even if his injuries hadn't recovered, he should be fine. In addition, Oscar, Ning Rongrong, and the others were here. The original Shrek's 7 monsters were all here. Flender and a few other teachers were here. At this moment, Flender seemed to be introducing someone to them. Lu Yuan walked in slowly. That person's figure entered Lu Yuan's eyes. Oh, it's you. Lu Yuan didn't need to look at his face. Just by looking at his back, he knew who this person was. Wasn't he the master who was known as the #1 theoretical expert? He didn't expect him to be here. To be honest, Lu Yuan's view of the master was quite complicated. Before he obtained the Polychoria and Clear Air Spirit Seed, Lu Yuan even had the impulse to kill the master. However, now that he had completely gotten rid of his influence, he didn't have the intention to kill him. After all, he didn't have any enmity with the master. The master didn't have the ability to harm the people around him. Lu Yuan's hostility towards him came more from Bibidon. He and the master had a good relationship when they were at Notting Academy. At that time, there were no conflicts between the two of them. However, after the signing mission was issued, Lu Yuan refused to be apprenticed to the master. His relationship with the master was somewhat estranged. The master needed someone who could prove his theory, and Lu Yuan naturally wasn't willing to be a test subject. Furthermore, compared to his understanding of martial souls, he also had his own insights, which weren't inferior to Grandmaster's. He actually had a complete plan for his own cultivation path when his martial soul had awakened. He even had a plan for which soul ring he would obtain and what type of soul skill he would obtain. Since the master had Tang-san, a twin martial soul disciple, he naturally didn't care about Lu Yuan. Lu Yuan was naturally happy with this. In this way, the relationship between the two of them became even more estranged. After joining the Martial Soul Palace, Bibidon's meticulous care for him moved him. In his heart, Bibidon's position was comparable to Chihiro Snow and Hulena. The better his relationship with Bibidon, the more he didn't want to see Bibidon suffer. Therefore, How could Lu Yuan be kind to those who had hurt Bibidon and those who had made Bibidon sad? Lu Yuan was a principled person. He would never target anyone for no reason, unless that person had brought harm or threat to the people around him. The master had once brought unimaginable harm to Bibidon. Even though Bibidon's tragic experience came directly from Chihiro disease, it was inseparable from the master, Yu Xiaogang. If it weren't for him, Bibidon wouldn't have made a fuss and said that she would stay with him even if she had to leave the martial soul palace. Chihiro disease wouldn't have forced her to stay in the martial soul palace, and naturally, she wouldn't have suffered such a tragic experience. Perhaps this matter was very complicated, and it wasn't entirely the master's fault. However, people were always selfish and would always side with their own people. Naturally, in Lu Yuan's opinion, the master had wronged Bibidon. Therefore, Lu Yuan wouldn't have a good impression of the master. Thinking of this, Lu Yuan's figure slowly approached. "Boss Yuan, you're back." Ma Hongjuan's eyes were sharp, and he immediately saw Lu Yuan's figure. As soon as Ma Hongjun said this, the rest of the people all looked at Lu Yuan. Seeing Lu Yuan, Zhu Zhuqing's eyes flashed with joy. Then, she seemed to have thought of something, and her expression turned cold. Ning Rongrong's eyes flickered, and no one knew what she was thinking. Oscar nodded at Lu Yuan as usual, and his peach blossom eyes flashed with a hint of ambiguity occasionally. He seemed to be curious about what Lu Yuan had been doing for the past 3 days. Xiao Wu looked at Tang San, who was beside her, and then looked at Lu Yuan's gradually approaching figure. There was a hint of hostility in her eyes. Tang San looked at Lu Yuan with a complicated expression. He had been utterly defeated by Lu Yuan. He had even used a hidden weapon, but in the end, he was still utterly defeated. He couldn't even force out Lu Yuan's martial soul. Furthermore, Lu Yuan was so ruthless in the end, and directly broke a few of his ribs, causing him to be bedridden for a few days. Tang San still had some resentment towards Lu Yuan in his heart. After all, no one was a saint. However, Tang San still didn't seem to understand the reason why Lu Yuan was suddenly so angry. Chapter 281. Lu Yuan was only angry because Tang San had included Zhu Zhuqing in his attack. That was all. Perhaps Tang San would go crazy and go berserk when Xiao Wu was hurt. That day, Xiao Wu had used her seduction soul skill on Lu Yuan, which resulted in a backlash. After that, Tang San went crazy and used a hidden weapon on Lu Yuan. Lu Yuan was even more extreme than Tang San. He wouldn't go crazy when his woman was hurt. He would use a thunderous method to kill the danger before it sprouted. Therefore, when Tang San used his hidden weapon that day, he included Zhu Zhuqing. Lu Yuan went crazy on the spot and beat Tang San up. Lu Yuan naturally didn't care about their gazes. He glanced around and walked in Zhu Zhuqing's direction. He stopped beside Zhu Zhuqing. Lu Yuan started to size up the people in front of him. More accurately, he was sizing up the master. The master was still the same as before. He was thin, and his face was stiff. He looked ordinary. In any case, he wasn't handsome at all. He didn't know how the master had won the hearts of the two beauties, Bibidon and Liu Erlong. Could it be that this wooden-looking master had some special tricks up his sleeve? After all, he wasn't like Lu Yuan, who only needed a face to pick up girls. Of course, Lu Yuan's ability to attract so many girls was inseparable from his strength. After all, if he didn't have strong strength to support him, he would only be a pretty boy no matter how handsome he was. His gaze flashed past the master. The master's arrival made him even more determined to leave. Although he had escaped the influence of the god-slaying spear and didn't have the urge to kill the master, he was reminded of Bibidon's tragic experience every time he saw the master. He was afraid that if he looked at the master's face too much, he wouldn't be able to control himself and beat him up. Furthermore, he had to look at this face every day. He thought about it and decided to forget about it. Lu Yuan turned around and looked at Zhu Zhuqing beside him. Even after seeing that he had returned, she still had such a cold expression on her face. Lu Yuan sighed inwardly. As expected, Zhuqing must be jealous after not returning for 3 days. Paying attention to Zhu Zhuqing's expression, Lu Yuan's hand slowly climbed up Zhu Zhuqing's small hand, holding Zhu Zhuqing's jade hand in his palm. Zhu Zhuqing's delicate body trembled slightly, but she didn't struggle. Her beautiful face was still cold. Since she didn't struggle, it means that Zhu Qing isn't completely angry. She'll be fine after some coaxing. Lu Yuan heaved a sigh of relief. Lu Yuan, you came back just in time. Let me introduce you to someone. He's called the Great Master, and he's my good brother. Flender smiled when he saw that Lu Yuan had returned. After all, Lu Yuan was now the most outstanding student in Shrek Academy. I know him. In the face of Flender's enthusiasm, Lu Yuan's expression was indifferent. He had known the master for 8 or 9 years. From the initial closeness to the current slight disgust, the change could not be said to be small. The relationship between the two of them had long since faded. Hello, Abuchi. We meet again. The great master carefully sized up Lu Yuan. Lu Yuan had changed a lot, and his temperament was even more extraordinary. Furthermore, according to Flender, Lu Yuan's strength had reached the level of a soul ancestor, and he was a 10,000-year soul master with 3 or 4 rings. To be honest, the great master didn't dare to believe this news when he heard it. After all, a 10,000-year soul master with 3 or 4 rings was simply too shocking. This had completely surpassed the limits of an ordinary soul master. His research and theories had never been applicable to Lu Yuan. This was because every time something happened to Lu Yuan, his theories would be completely destroyed. Originally, he really wanted to accept Lu Yuan as his disciple. After all, the Golden Dragon martial soul was too powerful. This was a martial soul that belonged to the legends, and it actually appeared in Lu Yuan's body. How could he not want to research it? Now, it was proven that the Golden Dragon was indeed incomparably powerful. Tang San, who he carefully taught, was actually unable to resist Lu Yuan at all. This caused the great master to sigh endlessly. Originally, he thought that Tang San's blue-silver grass could be comparable to Lu Yuan's Golden Dragon after cultivating to a certain level and then adding the clear sky hammer with 10,000-year soul rings and above. Although both the blue-silver grass and the clear sky hammer were far inferior to the Golden Dragon, the existence of twin martial souls allowed Tang San to have 10,000-year soul rings and above. Even if the gap between martial souls was large, the advantage of soul rings was enough to eliminate the gap between martial souls. But now, it seemed that this might not be the case. Lu Yuan's 3rd ring was already 10,000 year. Then, the soul rings after that would be at least 10,000 year. In this way, Tang San didn't seem to have much of an advantage over Lu Yuan in terms of soul ring combination. In a situation where the soul ring combination was about the same, could the clear sky hammer be a match for the Golden Dragon? The great master had some doubts in his heart. Maybe it really couldn't. As for the blue-silver grass, the great master had always treated it as a trash martial soul. He didn't have any plans to let Tang San cultivate the blue-silver grass to a high level. As long as Tang San reached rank 60, he could switch to cultivating the clear sky hammer. This was the great master's goal. After all, in the great master's opinion, although Tang San had innate full soul power, the blue-silver grass was still a trash martial soul. Its development prospects were far inferior to the clear sky hammer. There were no trash martial souls, only trash soul masters. It sounded very encouraging, but there was still a huge gap between a trash martial soul and a top martial soul. Lu Yuan nodded lightly. His expression wasn't very enthusiastic. He didn't want to have too much to do with the great master right now. Seeing Lu Yuan's indifferent expression, the great master was a little embarrassed. He didn't know why Lu Yuan was so cold to him now. When they were young, his relationship with Lu Yuan was still very good. It seemed that after not seeing each other for so many years, their relationship had become distant. I heard that you're now a rank 46 soul ancestor. Congratulations, the great master said. Thank you. I have a very good teacher. She taught me a lot, Lu Yuan said indifferently. After Lu Yuan said this, the great master became even more embarrassed. Lu Yuan was now rank 46, and Tang San was rank 29. The two of them had obviously gone to hunt for their first soul ring at the same time. The gap was too big. Could it be that Lu Yuan's teacher's teaching ability was really so much better than his? May I know which senior and expert your teacher is? The Great Master asked. To be honest, the Great Master was very curious about this person who could teach Lu Yuan to his current state. Sorry, my teacher doesn't allow me to reveal her name, Lu Yuan said. So it's like that, the Great Master said regretfully. Lu Yuan turned around and swept his gaze over to Flender. Dean, did everyone gather here today to welcome the Great Master? Flender shook his head and said, this is only the first thing. The other thing is that Oscar is already rank 30. We're preparing to make a trip to the Great Stardow Forest to help him obtain a soul ring. Oh! Lu Yuan was shocked. Finally, we've reached this step. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.